Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Weekly Geek. I am the Glamour, Travis Snell, and I'm joined by nobody. I'm alone. I will hopefully be joined by Taylor Field. He's working on one of our, I guess I can say, last week on our GeekVerse episode, we talked about all the things we're doing for our 10-year and Geese Creed anniversary episode. If you don't know what that is, that's an Assassin's Creed podcast that Taylor used to do with Ruben, who's done a bunch of stuff on GeekVerse before. And yeah, it's going to be tons of fun, I imagine. Getting those guys back together, talking about some Assassin's Creed goodness, but lots of things are going down in the next little bit for our 10-year, and he's recording that. So that I'll start off. Not going to get to any big topics without him, of course, but start off, talk about what's going on in GeekVerse, all that good jazz, and yeah, as I said on SideQuest, we don't even so some is recording right now. We don't have any of the 10-year content starting this week. That's coming in the next couple weeks. And like we said, we're doing August. God, I haven't memorized the date in my head yet. Let me get this going here. Where is my calendar? Hope everyone's doing well. Like I said, we'll be joined by Mr. Field. August 9th, 10 a.m. PST, we start GV Day, a bunch of events. Go back last week, we made all the announcements. We'll do one more kind of cast right before. Some things we've announced, some things we haven't. But if you're a fan of GeekVerse, kind of any era, we're going to hit on something that you like. There's some stuff that we announced last week that people I'd say that from like the 15 to 17 era on, like, oh, that's awesome. Haven't done those in a while. So yeah, it's going to be a good time. Looking very forward to doing all that. But this week, even though no 10-year, even next week, even though no 10-year stuff, the juice is flowing. There is a lot of gasoline going on in the Geekverse, the GV gasoline, because this week we just did a great SideQuest predictions. Go check out that. And people let me know if my camera is like super buggy. I haven't brought up my camera in a long time. I got a new connection, so anyone that's watching live, let me know. I can go back, and I probably will because I'm seeing how buggy it is right now, to the original. I should make sure I'm on my own mic. My goodness, I'm not. Oh no. That's not the right mic. There we go. That should be better. Let's see. I feel like your mic sounds weird, S Bubs. It did, because usually what happens is I'm here at the boys to tell me my mic is off, and it was. So now it should sound a lot better as a plane goes by. Yeah, so we'll see what happens there. But yeah, SideQuest predictions. That was tons of fun for Summer Games Fest and Xbox Showcase. Now we have another cast coming out this week because PlayStation announced today that tomorrow, or whenever you're listening to this, Wednesday, June 4th, that is the loudest fucking plane going by in the world. I'm sure you can hear it, but June 4th in the middle of the afternoon, they're doing a PlayStation State of Play. So me and Dylan will break that down. At least me and Dylan. Maybe someone else will join, but Dylan and I will break that down. So you're getting an additional cast this week. And then Thursday, or Friday, there'll be the Ballerina review. There's going to be Predator Killer of Killers review. There's going to be the Summer Games Fest review and the Xbox Showcase review. And then next week, there'll be the review for Xbox for the Switch 2, which is what we're getting. Lots of good stuff. How to Train Your Dragons out. I'm very excited. We just got screenings for Life of Chuck. So I'm going to be seeing that. I might even drop a little solo review. That might be the Trash Told You, because I didn't do a Trash Told You last month. And I want to, I'm for sure, at least in July, because that's the 10-year. It's just been very busy with a lot of stuff. Check out, S-Bubs is in the chat there. The Gimmick, we just did our Money in the Bank predictions and a bunch of other stuff. And then this weekend at some point, we'll be reviewing Money in the Bank, which is, one of the biggest shows in WWE, and talk about some other stuff. Mariah May, sure, other stuff. Hopefully no more fucking releases going on for people, but I digress. So yeah, lots of stuff. So if you want to just get all of that, please subscribe. The links below are everything you need to know. It's kind of weird. The camera is like acting better since I turned the right mic on. Don't know what that means. Technology is a weird thing, but we'll digress there. Big shout out to our Patreon producers, Aaron Braden, April Darkness, Jack Grant, Sam, Superbad, Mike God Loves Me 69, Jeremy Renner, Charlie Randall, and Cocktail Clay. And yeah, there's going to be announcements at GV Day as well. There's going to be stuff to do with the Patreon producer tier, so look out for that. We're going to have some announcements on other projects we're doing, other things that are coming back, and kind of some lead-ins to Extra Life. I kind of like that we kind of have the GV Day, and that's like what we've said before. It's going to be a 10-hour stream for the 10 years, but everybody that ups their tier on Patreon or joins on Patreon will put the time increments. We will go longer on the stream, and that also is just kind of like a little bit of a fundraiser for the channel to help us with all the content we're doing and all the extra shows we're putting out. Like we usually do two exclusive episodes a month. With After Nine, like the next couple months, you're going to be getting a lot. Like the 20 Days Later retro, that's extra. These top tens, that's extra. So there's lots of stuff that we're doing in honor of our 10 year, but that's because all of you can support it. So we very much appreciate it. That's it is the Extra Life pregame. It's funny because before we used to have the GeekVerse Gauntlet, and that would end in gosh, that would end in like August, September, but then the sequel was always like we'd had to do a tournament, so it was like the start of the season was very close. So I kind of like that they're kind of linked together in a way. That's the 10-hour one, and then as we've said before, there's a couple events that we want to do, but if we don't get to do them, they'll be kicked to Extra Life because it's just scheduling, and there's a lot of stuff going on. There's two in particular that have to have everybody together at a certain time, and it's very tough. And they're like weekends, and everyone has different schedules. So, yeah, we'll see. It's you know, tough life being a podcaster. But yeah, lots of good stuff going on. I hope everyone's doing good. I'm killing time because I didn't tell Taylor. I told him I'm going live, but he never gave me the okay. But that's what we do here because I don't know what he's gonna do. Trying to think of what else is going on right now in the GeekVerse room. Even my laptop feels a bit cooler now since I turn that right mic on. So thank you, SBubs. Even though I thought about right when you said that, thank you. Let's see. Is there anything else? Just did After Nine. That was a fun time. Mario Kart World Review. Trying to think if there's anything else. Trying to think, is there anything I can scoop? Here, there's one thing I can say. Because I completely forgot to announce it on the GeekVerse, 10-year schedule. So what we're doing and I'm doing primarily is we're editing a bunch of videos. Not going to tell them what they are, but they are kind of, some montages that cover different sections of GeekVerse, whether it's the eras or the content, all that type of stuff. And what I forgot to mention is we all did sit down interviews with the same questions, not together, separately with the same questions, and that's going to be used towards the videos. But the next day after the GeekVerse 10 day, we're going to as far as if Taylor doesn't show up within 10 minutes, I can legally join the stream. It's like the teacher didn't show up after 15 minutes. Yeah, what is it? Yeah, 10 more minutes. I'll give you that. No, he'd be mad. He's like, what, you replace me? You kicked me out for the gimmick boys. They're gonna be mad. You're replacing stuff. That would be great. A 10-minute rule to have you there. But yeah, we gotta get you and David one time on actual GeekVerse episodes. Now you guys are like in the member sphere. But anyways, as I was saying with the videos, we all recorded sit down interviews by ourselves. Same thing. Those I wanted to be done in person with the person, but we just couldn't time it out with correctly. So what we've done is we all record a separate stream. Those are going to be edited into the montages, but it's stuff like, here's one I can spoil because it's, I love the thing. GeekVerse Gauntlet. There's a whole segment on the GeekVerse Gauntlet history, the stories, our favorite matches we were in, favorite matches other people competed in. That's something where, okay, you're going to get like the quick highlights of me, Dylan, Taylor, and Kirkland talking. But then when we release what my plan is the next day and honor the 10 year, I'm going to put all the 4 interviews together. And I think it's going to be like 2.5, 3 hours. And you'll hear all different perspectives, inside stories, things I guarantee you haven't heard before, multiple things, at least from my side. I went an hour and a half. I babbled. So who would have thunk, right? But yeah, you're going to get that unedited. So first you're going to get the first little tease on GV Day and some of our answers, but then to get expanded upon. There you go. And there's just some stuff that like the questions we created them, but then as I'm making the montage videos, like, this just doesn't even work here, but I want to hear people's thoughts on it and stuff. So yeah, it's been very fun getting that all together, and hopefully there's no more planes going by. It's getting hot here in Kelowna, but yeah, I hope everyone is doing well. What have I been watching? I can do that quickly while Taylor's not around. Watch 20 weeks later today. No spoilers. The retros are coming up, so tune in for that soon. I've been trying. I talked about this before on a couple of what we've been watching. I finished Boy Meets World. I've been trying to watch Girl Meets World because I heard that there's a lot of sequel stuff, a lot of characters return. Like, it's a very fan servicey show. I know people might just say, oh, well, it's a kid's show. It's a different era. That's not in your era. But man, it's not great. It's a tough watch. It's a tough watch to get to the characters that I really enjoy. So don't know if I'm going to keep it together. In lieu of that, I've been listening to the podcast, the Pod Meets World. The show, I was like, oh, it'll be a show that I put on because I've seen it many times, right? It'll be a show I put on. And I just buzzsawed through that. It didn't become the put on show. And now Girl Meets World, it's like I watch maybe like one episode a week, maybe not even that. It's a tough watch. Finished Terminator 2. That was great. What else is on the dock? And I'm watching Sirens right now. That's an interesting show. Not only I guess, but there's Julianne Moore. It was on, I like Julianne Moore. I don't think she's somebody that I go out like, oh, I got to see her stuff, but I like Julianne Moore a lot. But Millie Alcock is in the show. There's three leads. It's Julianne Moore, Millie Alcock, and I think her name's like Megan Faye or something like that. Someone asked us because I'm alone right now. If you know who was the lead in Drop, I want to give her credit because I don't think I've seen her in anything else. I probably have, but I saw her in Drop and then in this, and I really like her a lot. She's really good. So it's a three lead, and it's a thriller, just a thriller, not a horror thriller. They're talking about some themes now. You're starting to wonder, is there a supernatural element to it? And I can't tell if it's going to go the route of that is a reveal, that there's something really funky going on, or just a lot of people buying into the funkiness. I'm literally the halfway point right now. Me and Emily have been watching that, and Alcock's great. Julianne Moore is great. Hopefully her name is Megan. That's great. So yeah, that's been fun. Megan Faye, I think I'm right in saying that. At least that's what I pictured. I'm terrible with names, but most of us are if you haven't heard it. So that's been good. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I've been watching on the what I've been watching tier here. I see a couple people have been watching John Wick. I plan to do that this week because we got a ballerina review. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I talked about that. I've been watching some MCU stuff. I guess I didn't even talk about that because it's on my letterbox. But I've watched. So last summer when Gwen was off, we watched Phase One, and I think we're probably gonna do Phase One and Phase Two because Phase Two we're almost done. We did Thor: Dark Worlds, Captain America, and Guardians. I don't think we've anything else before Avengers now. Iron Man 3, we never really finished because I just thought she was just not the biggest fan of it. She felt like she was kind of bored. There's a lot of talk in that movie, not a lot of Iron Man. She's still only 7, right? And just, she's not ready for conversations about PTSD. Even then, too, it's like when we were talking about Mission Impossible and someone bring their kid last week with Captain America Winter Soldier. We have a system. I can't remember what her system was. Oh, let me see if I can find it. It was a couple weeks ago of because I used to tell her just stars how much you liked it, but then she told me because now she's 7. I'm sure someone else has said this to her before of like what they mean. Okay, so she said that on the rating 5, we don't do 0.5s with the girls. 5 is fire, 4 is good, 3 is meh, 2 is bad, and 1 is very, very bad. Captain America Winter Soldier was a 4, and then Thor Dark World and Guardians were a 5. I think just because they were easier, and that's where she said that with Winter Soldier. She said there's a lot of talking and a lot of I didn't understand, but she liked certain things of it still. I was surprised how much she still did like it. I think the Winter Soldier helps in that reveal once it's Bucky. I think that's, a good time for her. And then the other ones, more flashy, more CGI creatures fighting, all that type of stuff. Even then in her Thor Dark World review, she's like, oh, well, they talked a lot in this one, but I understood it. So that's the difference there, right? The next generation of Dark World revisionists. Yeah, it's like the prequels, right? People that grow up with Dark World or grew up with the Star Wars prequels that love them, like a Taylor. I grew up with them and liked them, but then when I got older, I didn't, and now I've kind of come around on them. Because I remember when we did the commentary tracks for them in our first year, I'm like, I'm never watching these ever again. I'm saying goodbye to these, right? I even did that S-Bubs with Scream 4. I'm like, oh, I'm saying goodbye to these. But then as you get older, the black and white goes away as far as, oh, that's good, bad. It's like, okay, sure, Phantom Menace is not really like a good to great, like it's definitely not a great movie. It's not even a good movie. Maybe you could fail it on a story and writing perspective, but like I fucking love watching Liam Neeson as Qui-Gon Jinn, and I can't get that anywhere else, even Darth Maul, right? So there's things like even with Scream 4, there's certain things about where it's like, okay, it's still my almost at my bottom. The last one's at my bottom now, but there's certain things where I go, okay, I can enjoy this, and this. So there's certain things I still won't watch because if there's too much bad stuff and something I really don't love, then obviously you say goodbye to that. That's why I don't know where it'll be a final reckoning, which I'm glad you liked S-Bubs more than myself. But that's, like I said, I think I'm going to start it at the submarine part. So let's see. Travis, we never got your Snow White thoughts in depth. Okay, there we go. I've learned to appreciate the Vaseline filter. That I can't. That still makes me... That still hurts my head. It makes me vomit is a big, over exaggeration, but I hate it. I really would love a cut without it. Snow White... that was a tough watch, Mike. It was... That was a very, very tough watch. I don't think it's like an all-time bad thing because here's the thing. That's me with almost most of live action Disney stuff, right? I've said this before. I really liked Cinderella. I quite liked Aladdin. And then I think that's kind of the line. I think there's then after just varying degrees of meh to bad. So I'm kind of like the wrong audience. The same thing like my mom asked about Lilo and Stitch. She's like, "Oh, you want me to watch Twin Scene and take the girls?" I'm like, and my mom's gonna take them now. 'Cause like we have no interest in seeing any of those. Like, and I don't think there is any. I think even if we got to Pixar stuff, there's nothing now because I think it's just in a weird spot where you don't want a full-on just straight adaptation, but then you don't want almost too much change because it just fits like I said last week. There's some stuff I heard about Lilo and Stitch. I've not seen the movie, but some stuff people have told me, whether it's people I know or you just see stuff online where I go, "Oh, you kind of missed some of the core values of that movie or the meaning of that scene, right?" And that's something that happened with Last of Us. And I feel like when I was younger, I was very much like, "Yeah, give me a 1-to-1 of the Long Halloween." Where nowadays, I don't know if I want I think I like, and maybe it's because I'm, people might say an MCU fanboy. There you go. Taylor's gonna be on in a second now. But I don't actually mind the idea of adapting something and changing it like the MCU has. Now, don't get me wrong. Granted, I'm a defender of Thor: Love and Thunder. Not that it's a great movie, but I think I can see why they hate it. Don't get me wrong, but I think the comparisons people have made to other ones, like when they call it the worst comic book of all time, Catwoman exists, Howard the Duck exists. Like there's many other even Batman and Robin now, it's like reappreciated, but really when you look at it, it's bad. Batman and Robin doesn't have any great scenes like with Thor and Jane with the cancer or with what's his name? Christian Bale's character, the God Butcher, Gore on that black and white plan and everything. You don't have any of that in a Batman and Robin, but for me, that's where it's like, okay, I'm all for the adaptation, but that's still a situation where, okay, I think the Jane storyline, I appreciate that there's no humor in that storyline, but I still think they kind of, I won't say botched it, but severely underwhelmed, right? So that's where I am for if you're going to do a direct adaptation. I think there are certain things you want to hit on, even if the main overall story is different. And that's been the tough thing with like Last of Us, right? Because I think for me, especially, we didn't talk about it after, but the interview and I've never seen Chernobyl. I've heard great things, but I've never seen that. But Greg Manzini, who gave that interview, it just feels like, and it sucks for me because it's also Ellie from Up, but Ellie from Last was is another reason why Ellie, my daughter, got that name. I love that character. Video game character, that's a top 3 are there for sure. It's like her, John Marston, and maybe someone else, right? Maybe Nico Bellic, right? But for me, when I read that interview, I'm like, man, you missed a lot of the point. And that's the problem with the adaptation, right? When it's set in the world or we're going to tell our own story of those characters, that does hurt people too. But the adaptation, it felt like, man, you missed the boat or misunderstood, or maybe you didn't and you just wanted to go a different route. I just don't like this route that we're on, really, per se, right? And we never talked about news. It's an interesting situation with that. And I think it was a news topic we got kicked at one point because we got a busy week or something. But like that, what was it? The premiere, like the finale of last year was like 8.9 and this year was like 3.7. That's not good. And that's what I talked about. Now I know the HBO covered like, well, people usually watch weeks after and stream a lot. Don't get me wrong. I get that, right? But I also think like that's season 2. Now think about like, okay, it's slowing down now. Think about in season 3 when it's 2 years from now and it's focused on some storylines and characters we don't love. That's what's going to get interesting. I said that on the review. I said they should probably finish season 3 because I think those ratings are going to really jump down. So Hunter Eggy says the glamour. If James Gunn's Superman movie is $225 million, inflation is 160 into 2013 if it was released. Yeah, I have seen that going around. Yeah, and that is true. But at the same point, that doesn't matter as far as like the inflation goes both ways, right? It's still like, okay, that's great. That's the same budget as Man of Steel, but we're still in this day and age where the money doesn't mean as much, right? Like if you were to make, that's like that'd be someone being like, well, if they made 400 million, really, let's say Superman, and we're going to get to when Taylor gets here, Hunter. We're going to go break it all down. I'm just waiting for Taylor, my co-host. And there he is. A wizard is never late. He's here precisely when he means to. And we're just transitioning Taylor into Superman, which is good. But how are you doing today, sir?
Doing good. Just hot off the cusp of a fresh Geeks Creed episode.
Yeah. Oof. So I thought I knew. Taylor was like, yeah, gonna be a clean hour. I'm like, that's not gonna be the case.
It was. The episode clocked in 1 hour and 29 seconds.
Oh, so everyone was just late.
Well, I was late. We had a diaper
Oh,
blowout
you
and all
were
that.
late. Yeah,
So
see, there you go. And
yeah.
that's fine. We talked about some GV Day stuff and we've been talking with the chat and everything. Espas almost got in. He had about 4 more minutes. He said in 10 minutes, if you weren't on, he was going to tag in. So it would have been.
I'll let you. You can tap in. I'll go have a shower.
Taylor's going to
I'll.
bed. Yeah, but no, so that's the thing, right? Where you could say, hey, 400 million now was worth a lot more in 2013, right? But no executive is going to accept that. Like, imagine if Superman made that and they're like, hey, I know it underperformed, but guess what? In 2013, that 400 million, it would actually, it would have been this much, you know? So I do get it. And that's a great thing in inflation. It's very tough, right? Because even then, when you look at, like, I don't think the world works that way. When everyone talks about the number one movie of all time, it's Avatar 1, right? But really, if you adjust for inflation, it's Gone with the Wind. But no one ever talks about that, right? No one talks about Gone with the Wind being the number one movie. It's just how the times change. So I have seen that. I just think that that's not how a studio is going to look at it and be like, oh, you came under budget. It's like, or you're the same budget as Man of Steel. It's like, no, you're bigger in a 2020 5 cents. And I'm kind of surprised by the budget. We're going to get into this. SPUB says it's like how The Rock was saying Black Adam actually did good because Captain America, the first Avenger, did less. Absolutely, right? And that's the same thing of like even Thunderbolts. I see that from like there's me and Espos cover wrestling, and that's where I love with David. Like we're in the middle. We might have some preferences, but you see on the WWE, AW brand, Star Wars, DC, Marvel, they all have those diehards where, they'll look at Thunderbolts or something like that and go, well, the first, it did better than the first Captain America. It's like, yeah, the first Captain America was 2011 before all the Avengers, all like Thanos, No Way Home, all that stuff. Like that's to me, when you say that, that's not like, and what Black Adam was, that's not like a good thing. That's like, oh, it's a regression. It's like, well, it's doing the same like it used to. So, and I remember that happened with the X-Men First Class. It opened the same as the 2000s X-Men, and that's what the studio put out. They're like, well, it opened the same as the first movie, and this is a new era, new characters, new actors, so we're pretty happy with that. But then what happened for Days of Future Past? They brought back all the fucking old X-Men to like boost that box office, right? So execs say one thing, but Taylor, I'm gonna lay it on you here where we're talking about Superman, then we got just a shit ton of trailers to talk about tonight. But let me find it here. Oh my god, did I lose the fucking tweet? I did. Anyways, I will just paraphrase here, but I think I'll find the official tweet where, so this is coming from a B tier. This is the Wrap. The Wrap's broken many things before, but still it is a B tier. I'm sure we'll get an official production budget, and at the same time, it's like, you sometimes never even fully get the full official one, right? There's always, some checks and balance, but right now, if this report is to be true, the Superman budget is 225. So I did check, thanks to Screen Rant. There was an article that listed in 2024 the most top 10 highest budgets. So it never crossed that because the highest budget above that was 250, which it's funny. There's like a four-way tie. Here it is. The Dark Knight Rises, Civil War, BVS, and Guardians 3 were all 250, and that's in the top 10. So there's like a four-way tie for last place, but then under that. So this would put Superman somewhere, at least in the top 20 for most expensive superhero movies. And in this report, it was saying that if it were to make, from insiders, they're looking at it as like, if it made 500, it would make it has to hit 500 to make a profit, but that would be looked at upon as like that's good, but like very like a modest success. That would be okay. Like, sure, we've made a profit, but kind of just by the edge of our teeth. Apparently, and this happens a lot with blockbusters, but the number that's been going around that they are one hit and they would consider a big win is 700 million. Obviously, Taylor, in a couple weeks we're going to be Superman predictions, so we'll have more time to refine it. But I want to get early kind of thoughts, and I will throw it again. This is from like even more C tier, but there's a tracking website. They're called Box Office Theory. And I love how they put up this number and people got mad because like, there's not even tickets, there's this and that. Yeah. How they track it is they use social media and they look at views, they look at Google searches, and they compare that to other movies that have come out and said, hey, our theory is it could open anywhere from here. And they project it as 150 to 175. So right now, Taylor, does it surprise you? Because obviously Superman, big film, but I'd say other than Nicholas Hoult, there's not like a bunch of big stars, right? Like you look at Civil War and BVS, that's 250 because it's like, well, you got Ben Affleck and Henry's coming back, and Civil War is like you got Downey, all this stuff. Where this is 225, like I said, rumored to be in that top 11 to 20. Are you kind of surprised it's so big with some more lesser known, or do you think even though this is maybe a sign that they go, hey, DC's had a tough time. This has to be a hit, but they're not cheaping out. They're saying no, go all out. Like has to be a big. Like, what do you take from it from having a supposedly rumored budget that people were thinking? And Samuel says, is marketing budget usually double? I would say with a movie like this, absolutely. Like a big movie, you also have to think that lots of time the theaters take half the money. So that's why they always say you want to double your budget. So that's why if this is 225, you at least want to make 500 million. So I know I threw a lot at you there, but a lot of numbers. But how are you feeling about that budget?
A lot of numbers. A lot of numbers. Yeah, how am I feeling about the budget? I think that you hit it on the nose. I think a movie like this, DC needs a big W in the box office. So you're going to be shelling out a lot of money to make sure your project has everything that it needs covered. You want to have all the bases covered because you're coming off of a not so hot streak of films that were not necessarily cashing in at the box office, like your Black Adam, your Blue Beetle. And while there's probably little bits of praises here and there, they weren't raking in the money. So, and again, how much Black Adam's but budget was probably like astronomical for 7 years, right? That it was in production for.
Well, and that's the same thing though. They say the production budget, but they never talk about like all the same thing. The Flash, right? It's not on that top 10, but it would definitely be if you were to take everybody writing it, even maybe Blade, right? Because every time you hire a new writer or director, like lots of times you pay those people if they're starting to work on the film. So that's where these budgets are literally just the version you're seeing. But like even Black Adam, it lists as a budget of 190 to 260. So we really don't know exactly what it made. So it could actually be more expensive than Superman was here. So
interesting. Okay. Yeah, because you're right. With Holt being really the big name in there, I don't think I am aware of really. Obviously, aside from the Green Lantern actor, which I can't remember his name.
Nathan Fillion's not making this be 250, 225. No, There's no way.
No, but
I mean, rookie. But come on now,
he isn't the rookie. Actually, that's been popping on my feeds lately. Might have to watch it. But I've seen a few things with him, but most of the other cast members, I don't think I've really seen them in anything. Have you seen them in much?
No, Rachel Brosnahan is in that like Marvelous Miss Maisel show. You got that. Obviously, Isabel Merced's popping off, right? She's Hawkgirl, so she's in Last of Us and Alien. But like, she's she's breaking out because of those roles. It's not like she broke out and then they got her. They just happened to get her at a good time, and I guarantee you her pay rate's gonna go up anytime they do the next Hawkgirl adventure. The guy who plays Metamorpho, no. Like I'm trying to think. Who else is in there? Like, I don't think so. And even Dave Cornsweet himself, like even film people are like, oh, that guy from Pearl, like that's not a guy that's breaking the budget, making it 225. So like, I would imagine it's all going into the film unless James Gunn's also, maybe he's getting some Downey money and whatnot. But I would imagine most of it's going towards the actual film, which, Superman can't look cheap. It's a movie that he flies, he's doing this stuff, he's got heat vision. Like if Superman looks cheap, then you're off to a really bad start, right? Mm-hmm. So in that sense of okay, it's expensive. What do you think about? And like I said, we're gonna talk about this weeks later again. So this is like a mini spoiler for that, but still, it's gonna be lots of things will change. We'll get other tracking right now. So like I said, tracking right now is 150, 170. Their hope is to at least hit 500. Their stretch goal is 700, and then anything past that is like gravy. Where you are right now, and I will give you, let me give you the top 10 here, and let me know if my camera's bugging out because I'm using the HD camera.
I was gonna say, yeah, you look zoomed in more than usual.
So I'm trying to think of, okay, so this is the top 10 superhero film. Jesus Christ, this is the top 10 superhero films since COVID. Okay, so this is what I'm going to give you. I'm going just to give you a ballpark. So actually, I'll kick this one out because Suicide Squad was at 10, but Deadpool Wolverine somewhere in here. I think Deadpool Wolverine's at 1.3 billion. Birds of Prey is at 201 million. Don't forget that came out. Black Widow at 379 million. Eternals 402 million. Shang-Chi 432. Venom Let There Be Carnage 501. Thor Love and Thunder 720, The Batman 767, Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness 953, and then Spider-Man No Way Home $1.8 billion, which is crazy to think. Imagine if that thing didn't release in COVID, and it didn't release in China as well. But something like
release in China?
No, for some
Holy
reason or something.
shit.
Yeah. So, like, remember that movie opened, had a bigger opening weekend than Infinity War. So, if that was during COVID, I think it could have beat Infinity War and might even be number two. But so, if they're aiming for 700, the Batman was 767. When you think about like the opening weekend and just overall, when you look at Superman and then compared to 3 years ago with the Batman, do you personally feel like the hype levels are big enough that it will get it to that same mark as the Batman?
Oof. Um, if I'm removing my own bias, I think yes, I think there is hype levels in there, and I
If you're
say that
removing your own
based
bias, I feel like
remember
that
my
was
own
a
biasness because
okay.
I like me and what I like and what I enjoy, I'd say no. But if I'm just looking at it from a purely neutral position, I feel like yes. And I'm saying that based on the fact that I remember when that they dropped that score initially and you were over the moon, and I feel like you and so many
Oh
other
yeah.
people were like fanatics about it. And again, I thought the score was great. I loved it. But I think there's a lot of other little things and subtleties that are in this movie that just has the Superman fans just going crazy, just
And I'm not even a
ecstatic.
Superman fan. I just like some of the stuff
Yeah.
they've done, but I'm not a Superman guy. Okay, and that's funny because for me, the perspective I'm going is I think this movie will still review well, but I don't think it'll be reviewed well as the Batman. Because let me see, the Batman. Let's see, Rotten Tomatoes, because I thought that was pretty high up there. And the Glamour says, "Don't forget, China will be releasing Superman." I haven't forgotten. The only reason, okay, 85, a little lower than I thought. The only reason I don't think it's as big a deal is because we've seen a lot of superhero movies in the past few years go to China and not make a big dent. That's because the Chinese market has changed. They've released so many movies of their own now that are massive. Like I think the number one movie this year is a movie from China, and just because it's like an anime movie, it's like Naza 2 or something, and it's like because they fund their own stuff now. So don't get me wrong, that always helps to have it there, but I don't think it's like a guaranteed like that's gonna blow up, right? So for me, I'm the other side where the circles I run in, it's like people are hyped, but they're the people that always would be hyped. And I feel like the most time I hear Superman talked about is still just in contention with Fantastic Four. Of like, well, I'm more hyped for Superman than F4. Yet, da, da, da. I remember the Batman, and even in a day and age where that was COVID, I remember people in my real life. The second that first trailer came out with Nirvana and that first look at Passion and just being so dark, I remember people that know, like, that hit me up every couple of years for podcast stuff, whether I talk to them or not. Just like, oh, I listened to, like, I remember after Rise of Skywalker, my friend Shyla, who, like, never listened to podcasts. Like, I needed somebody, and I went to your podcast, like, those type of people, right? That, like, for an end game that will come to GeekVerse and then never listen to us until, like, another 3 years. I remember the Batman, people coming to me and being like, man, this is looking really good. So I had more real life interaction where I've not had that with Superman. Really, I'm not saying I can't have that. July's still like a month away, and still there's gonna be more previews. I imagine we'll get another trailer. We'll get like I know they're doing Dairy Queen meals, so like I'm sure it's gonna happen. I just feel like with the Batman, it had that big oomph of wow, like this is something different, and at the same time, like. I think there's aspects of the Superman that is different, but I think there's still plot stuff that's not, and I think it's different for some youngins because a lot of people it's not different because it's more akin to the Christopher Reeve stuff, right? Because even though like the Batman and Dark Knight, you could say, oh, they're those are very dark movies. To me, they're very different. Christopher Nolan's movies are a crime drama. Matt Reeves is like a serial killer thriller. They are dark, but they're different shades of dark. Different types of chocolate. You could say there's regular chocolate and a dark chocolate. So that's just where I'm going. Like I've always said at 600, that's where I'm thinking it's gonna be, just because July is busy and one of those movies has to win, and maybe it's Superman, maybe it's Jurassic, maybe it's F4. I don't know, but I just think there is some things that they will eat into each other's box office. You got to remember that Fantastic Four is the last movie to come out of those three, so maybe that'll benefit it, or maybe that'll hurt it. I'll feel going, yeah, I already spent some money on Jurassic World and Superman. I'm gonna skip F4 for now. Like I'm so excited to see when we get to August and September to see the final receipts on those three, because like all of them are in interesting states. Where Jurassic World's coming off a very rocky end to a franchise. Marvel is introducing the first family, which I don't like. I see lots of people talk about them being like that's an A tier character like F4, like or like Superman. F4, I think we talked about in the retro. Like, there's no movie that's made over $400 million. Like, I don't think Fantastic Four is actually an A tier for mainstream people. I think there's people like Pedro, sure, but I don't know. So for me, I haven't changed. I'm still at 600 million. I think 500 million. It'll be very curious if they get to that where they considered it like a success, but I don't like because I think if you get to like if they're the rumor is if it's 700 and they're like this is a big win, then clearly the DCU is completely fine, right? They're going to keep going. They're considered a big win. I wonder what they do with oh this is a win, but it's not a strong win. Like I wonder, does that just mean do they still go full head with oh and now it's more DCU stuff this that, or do they like lean off the gas and go, let's see how Supergirl does. Let's see how Clayface does. Or even like I know Espo's making a joke of they need to lean into Glenn Powell post credit boost. The Glenn Powell need to leak a Glenn Powell Batman post credit to boost the box office. That to me is an interesting thing where who knows what's happening, but even the Batman world, I think if Superman makes like 500 million, is considered like yeah that's a win. Like I feel like Matt Reeves gets a lot more power because it's like, well, his movie in COVID made 270 million more than yours, and that was in a lot of trying times. And it's not a universe or anything like that. If it's the same, that's interesting. So yeah, I'm very curious how it's gonna go down. But let's take a ad break right here, and then I'm gonna get your thoughts on something else that came out with Superman. So we'll be right back. And we're back. Before I continue, did you have anything else to say on the budget or box office wise? Oh, you didn't tell me. Actually, you didn't tell me. What do you? Sorry, far out. I said I'm still comfortable with 600. Right now, we're still a month and a half away. Where do you think it's going to land in that range? Or do you think there's a chance it's even lower than 500 million?
No, I think it's
Okay.
I think it's minimum hitting 500.
I agree. If it hits under, then it's over. It's Joe over. It's like to me, if it's hitting like Brave New World numbers. You can't do that with your first Superman out the gate.
So does like Gunn's universe just canceled? Everything's done and he's out.
I think everything would come out, but then it could be an out Norman situation. I think they release because right now they're releasing like Supergirl's. I think wrapped filming, and then right now they're going into Clayface. Peacemaker's going to come out, so that'll already be out. I'm trying to think if there's any like Sergeant Rock is dead. And there's Lanterns, right? So let's say there's those three projects: Lanterns, Supergirl, and Clayface. You could really, if you wanted, kind of like what the old DCU did, is just like release them, and they're not connected. They're just their own projects, right? I don't think Warner Brothers would ever sell DC. Actually, I won't say that because there's always a chance. I find it highly unlikely. I find what they would do is either they would go back to just solo movies, or what I think could be interesting, and I don't know if I want this or don't want this, would be kind of like a licensing them out. Like, hey, we're gonna, whoever wants to make a Batman movie, give us a bid. And that's where it's like Apple or Amazon doesn't own Batman per se, but they could go make a Batman movie that's for their streaming service, like for them and stuff. So I'd find that interesting if they would go like kind of like what games do with devs, right? Of like, hey, for Battlefront we're going to EA, for Star Wars Eclipse we're going to Quantum Dreams, like something like that. I could see, hey, fuck Disney, you want to get a DC character in one of your Marvel movies, like. Right now they're doing a comic crossover Deadpool and Batman, so but yeah, so you said it's a minimum of 500, but what's your bones telling you right now, a long-term number?
Ooh, long term, you said 600.
I to be more specific, I'm like 650. I think that's where it is. I agree with you that the minimum's 500. I could see a world where it doesn't get to 600, but I think it will at least get to 500, which you never know because Thunderbolts didn't. Like let me pull up. Hang on, I'll quickly while you talk. I'll pull up the top 10 movies this year because I don't think there's many movies that are 500, so it could actually like not do it. So, what's your thought there?
I feel like my mind immediately went to 650. That just feels like a safe kind of safe cushion to go with. I feel like 700 is getting up there, but doable. But anything higher than 700 is too high. So
If it's 700, that's they're laughing. Like that's a good, like look at this right now. So North American, I talked about this because the number one movie right now is Ni Za 2 that came from China. Right now, there's only Minecraft and Lilo and Stitch that have gone past 500 million. Brave New World's at 415. Thunderbolts is 370. Mission Impossible 350. Sinners 350. Bloodlines, Final Destination 230, and Snow White 205. So it's like honestly, that's where when I say that I agree with you, the minimum is 500. I could see a universe where this doesn't get to 500 and again, if people just don't want Superman, they're tired of superhero stuff, whatever it may be, we only have 2 movies right now that are past 500, which is not maybe not great. I guess I don't know. Like that's I don't, or maybe that just means the movies coming up are going to make a bunch of money, right? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What would you think would happen if they don't hit that magical number? Do you think it would be like just halt the universe? Do you think they'd ride out a little bit longer to see? Do you think they'd do what I said, of like maybe in the future stop their universe and kind of license these things out?
I think they would stop it and start licensing these things out. That seems like the a safe play because at least they can kind of, it's they get to put their stamp, they get to put their logo right on it at the end of the day, right? And just hopefully they're letting other people run with it a little bit more and can kind of they don't have to worry about taking all the heat and putting all of their money into it. They're making money
They
off
just
of
get a
it.
check pretty much, like what
Exactly.
Sony does, right? They let Marvel produce the movie, cast it, write it, and then they cut them a check for like 25%. I think it would be more like if you're selling a character off for a little bit, but
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see. Espo says 2 years is too long to wait. Cut to 232, and it's still in production. The Brave and the Bold will get the Blade treatment. Yeah, the Brave and the Bold. That's what he was talking about, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, I read his chats out of order. That Batman thing is that's super. All the Batman stuff is tough. The Matt Reeves thing is tough of it all. They're even the Bold stuff of it all because it's a situation of the rumor is they're filming, early next year, but it's like the rumor was they're filming last year, and whatever the issues going on, that does affect the other Batman movie, right? Because let's say that is the plan. Let's say 100% James Gunn's like, hey, no matter what, Matt Reeves, whatever's going on, take your time. We're gonna give you your trilogy. We've talked about that before. Whatever James Gunn wants to do with Batman, you can't do it. You can't have 2 Batman movies in the same year. I think you can't even have them in the same I think 2 years. I think it's like has to be 2.5 minimum to me. Like I think even 2 years might be cutting it too close because you still have people picking their favorites. I want to hit you. We've never talked about this. I want to hit you with this rumor that people have this working theory that James Gunn might be working on a world's finest type of movie, which would be a Batman Superman team up. So obviously it would be kind of weird. It would be very Zack Snyder-ish to do a Superman movie and then the sequel is Batman and Superman, but this time it would not be like a bunch of tension. It'd be them teaming up. Do you like that as like a follow up for Gunn and Superman? And would you like that as Batman's introduced, or do you think that is just too similar to what we got the last go around?
Sorry, maybe I'm daft with this. So, Brave and the Bold will come out after this if he was to do it.
That I think that's the working theory as far as hey, Matt Reeves is taking a bit longer. We don't want to do a solo Batman, but what if we do kind of like a Superman 2, but we get to introduce our Batman, like introduce him somewhere else
So
instead of Brave and the Bold.
So it would be the Brave and the Bold. That actor who's chosen to be Batman, he would be the Batman in
Yeah,
this.
like Spider-Man in Civil War, like that type of
Okay.
thing, where we introduce Batman in a movie, like or what they did with Affleck, right? They did that with Affleck. They introduced him BVS, and then he was in Justice League, Flash, etc.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I mean, BVS, it's say what you will about it. I think it's still pretty exciting because yeah, you get Wonder Woman and you get Bruce Wayne's Batman in there, so you get a whole OG3 team up, and I like that. I like that a lot. So I'd be down for them to do something like that here with them teaming up. I think that's cool. I don't need it to be a carbon copy. You don't have to go ahead and give me like, oh, Martha, and them just being pissed off at each other.
No, I don't think they will have them fight. There might be a scene of tension, but I don't think they'll throw even a fist at each other or anything like that.
Good.
Because I think that you do. That is a little dangerous if you go Superman and then the Superman Batman team. A lot of people be like, "Well, this is what we just did." Like even then, you're starting the DCU off the same way the DCEU start, right, with a Superman movie. A little bit different,
Yeah.
non-origin, but still. Let's see. Samu says the Batman had a generation who got into it through the Nolan trilogy. Does Superman really have any recent iteration to get 20 to 30-year-olds excited? Oh, this is a leveled question because there's people we talk with and people that listen to the show on the network that would disagree with me, and you never know the numbers. Here's where I am because that situation would be the DCU, right? You would say, hey, a lot of people grew with Cavill and that got them the Superman. I know 2 people, and not talking about us like podcast world, like people that are normal. I like, yeah, we're not normal. People that are don't do this. They're just moviegoers that I know like BVS, and they're only low. It's like, oh yeah, I had a good time with it. Most people and that's just BVS, right? But most people I talk to, and I don't know if people have seen the Snyder cut because I haven't met a real person I think that's watched a 4-hour movie of that because they just weren't invested, right? The people that I talk to in the Man of Steel BVS route, that era that were not in our circles, we're not a fan of that type of stuff. And I know people, I debated this many times with Ray from Cast, and we have many different opinions and stuff. Many people will say, well, because of what they did to Justice League with the Snyder Cut, they made that movie so bad. That's why that movie bombed, and that's why it didn't do well. To me, that movie didn't do well because after BVS, I think a lot of people checked out. And I had a lot of things where I used to go to movies with a lot of people, and I remember when Justice League was coming out, I'm like, oh, Justice League come out? Very little excitement for that movie. And the people I would usually go with that were like friends, not podcast friends, they were going like, yeah, this isn't really for me, you know? And you can't say, oh, well, they grew up. No, they were seeing fucking Endgame and Civil War. They're all there for that. But for Justice League and that type of stuff, it petered off, right? And I think Aquaman's the exception to that rule. It just kind of happened. But I personally don't think there's been anything from the past. Samu says, like, the past, I'd say, like, 10 to 15 years that made people love Superman, but where are you? Because he does bring a good point, right? Where people fell in love with the Batman character again with the Nolan trilogy. Doesn't matter that BVS happened. Like, the Nolan trilogy was iconic, and that create a whole new generation of fans. Do you think there's a whole new generation of fans here for Superman?
I mean, I certainly hope so. That's what they're kind of they're banking on. They gotta land it with this next, the next generation, because you have your original, like, older demographic that grew up with those old Superman
Yeah.
movies, and
They're
throughout our
they're
period
aging
of,
out though, kind of. You
they
know,
are
and,
aging
and
out,
there are a lot of
and
people that don't see movies. I remember before you continue, my parents-in-law when they saw Michael Keaton previewing The Flash, like, oh, that's great, I'm gonna go see that. And then when it came time, they're like, nah, we didn't see that one. We'll just wait for home. You know. So at the time they might want to, but there's a generation of that people really like they can wait and they've seen a bunch of this stuff. So continue. I just wanted to say that to your point there. So.
well, yeah, and so when it comes to our generation, we haven't really had much for Superman. Maybe I'm just being blunt about it, because we did get
I
the
don't think
Cavill
anything
stuff, but
huge. I don't think anything like Dark Knight changed the game. Iron Man changed the game. Spider Man like changed the game. Like those like even Guardians to the level you can say, hey, that changed the game for certain things. But I don't think Superman had both those Superman films were very divisive, right? You had
they
very
were.
passionate people that loved and hated them. So
Yeah, no, that's true. And so I just remember when I was a kid, well, more like a teenager, and my dad went and bought Superman Returns on DVD, and he's like, "Oh, let's watch this." This is, I think, in the retro, I say this. This is like my first kind of experience with Superman as a character on a movie. So, yeah, it was kind of passed us by, and the hype that was in there for Man of Steel was because it was after the Nolan trilogy,
yes,
and I just remember, like,
Christopher
produced by
Nolan.
Christopher
Yeah.
Nolan, yeah.
Yeah,
And I was like,
yeah.
oh man, are they setting us up for like like the combining universe or something like that? Like,
Even then, though, it looked more mature too, right? And it was, but it looked more like, oh, they're gonna do what they did with Superman with Batman, right? And that's what I was looking. I was very because I'm not a Superman guy. I was looking very forward to Man of Steel. I don't love the movie because I think there's a lot of writing flaws, but I think that was their chance. And I think the problem with that is it was, in my opinion, Man of Steel is nowhere near the park of Batman Begins and Dark Knight, and maybe this is a hot take, or Dark Knight Rises to me. Like I think those are all different. I don't think they're in the same ballpark. Do you think Man of Steel's near those movies?
no, I don't
No.
think so.
And I think that's where a lot of people, if it was even just Man of Steel, you would have got a whole bunch of people. And it's debated, but that's where it's still divisive. You can have that 50% that think it's, and I know many people, that's their favorite comic book movie. Like in the vodka stream circles I run, I get that. But a lot of, like, I think the mainstream it wasn't. Hunter Iggy says Man of Steel made 670, but inflation 915. Again, inflation didn't matter because BVS made, I think it was 800 or whatnot, but because it didn't make a billion like Avengers and other ones, they went, okay, it doesn't matter. Again, they changed everything. They ousted Snyder. And the inflation's not going to matter because they're not like, hey, in 10 years from now, it's going to make this much. No, at the time, it was, hey, all these movies that the Marvel Disney brands putting out making Avengers, we just put our two biggest superheroes, which I don't care what people say. I've had this debate with other people too in the Vogelshin realm. BVS should have made $1 billion, and not every film has to make $1 billion. But that to me was a fucking layup, and that to me shows how divisive that movie was because you have the two most iconic characters of all time. Third, in that realm also Spider-Man, and it didn't do that. That to me, and you still had Wonder Woman too. Like to me, that is a sign of there was a group of people that were not into that stuff. Superman Mike says, if Jurassic World underperforms, do you think that affects Superman? Definitely, because I would like that or Fantastic Four. Like no matter what there's going to be a third place, even though it would be kind of funny if all the film, like let's say all the films made like 620 to 650, and then be like, wow, it's really divided. But I think no matter what, there's going to be like, in quotations, a loser. The hope is just the loser's not anyone like below 500 million, right? Hopefully the loser's not us and we all enjoy these movies, but like for the studios, they all want to make a profit, of course. So I think if it's tough though, because there's two ways you can look at that, Mike, where it's like, okay, let's say Jurassic World Rebirth comes in and it's a lot lower than it has before, then I could say, oh yeah, maybe people are saving their money for Superman. But then you could also say, well, people just didn't like that last Jurassic World, and that's why they bounced, right? Like, or same thing, they're saving it for F4. Like, it's tough, especially today's day and age. There's no one answer for why it is. But what do you think? Do you think if Jurassic World underperforms, that affects Superman, or do you think that's like a secluded thing? Do you think there's a chance people are waiting for the next week for Superman, or if it does poorly, it's because people weren't a fan of X, Y, and Z?
Oh my goodness.
Good job everyone in the chat. We're getting some good questions, some good thinkers tonight, you know?
Yeah. Um,
So is that a secluded Superman, or do you think that's a more box office this summer of why it could, if it did poor, of course, right? It could be a huge, but if it did poor, is it its own problem or the other movies that affected it more?
I think it's the other movies. I think a big topic of conversation that I have with people these days when we're talking about movies is people just say, "Oh, they're not making anything great anymore." Da, 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 da. And so I think if people watch one movie like Jurassic World and underperforms, then I think they're going to just have that mentality just spoon fed, just like, oh, they just can't make a great movie. No, I'm not
Have you
going
heard
to
of
waste my time.
adrenochrome?
Yeah. So I think that's just kind of like the stigma, the stereotype going around right now with the box office.
Yeah, and that's where, again, it's not that I think you could talk about the blockbusters like that, but we've talked about this all the time. There's dozens, if not hundreds, of movies a year that release that are great movies, but they're made by some small company that no one's watched, you know, and it's like very small. Like even Sinners, that to me is a fantastic movie, but it still's only made $235 million, right? Like that's not a massive box office. It's huge for us film fans, but a lot of people I think just think of like the biggest movies aren't the ones, or the ones nominated for Oscars that they haven't seen. But Espos the Superman Point says the most I've seen of Superman as a kid was when you could play him as Lego Batman 2. But at the same time, I don't think necessarily you need to already have fans. Like I don't think that many young people were huge Top Gun fans before Maverick. And absolutely, Espos, I was somebody that I didn't think was going to maybe bomb, but I was like, like who yeah, I think I did say who cares, or I was along the lines of like Top Gun in this day and age, like is that really going to matter? And it didn't matter, right? It put its thumb on the pulse, had a great soundtrack, great cast. That movie looked sexy, has great set pieces, and S-Bubs is right, didn't matter. There was not a bunch of people talking about Top Gun, right? And I think Superman could like have the potential to be that. I do think out of the three, to have that water cooler movie is Superman, because I think it appeals to all ages, with crypto, with even fans of the '80s, with new fans, the superhero genre, and I think that cast is like a sexy cast too. Like I think like not that you gotta be sexy, but just mean like there's something like people like watching good looking people, right? And I think like Rachel and David together, they look great as Clark and Lois. Like there's just something there. And they look all nice and pretty. Or even ScarJo, nice pretty woman, is like she's covered in dirt, doing all this stuff. Like David Cornsweat, he's looking fucking hot as Superman over here, right? Like he's got some stuff going in the background. He's got a messed up suit, but yeah, we'll see. Because I asked that. I'm not sure if I said this on the podcast, but my like nephew-in-law like saw Minecraft and he got the Superman preview, and I'm like, oh, like what'd you think about that? He's like, yeah, and not really for me. I'm like, are you a Superman fan at all? Like, no. And he's like 13, 14. Like, are you a Superman fan at all? No, not really. What about your friends you saw the movie with? No, I don't think they're seeing it. And I was like, okay. And I've always said too that could be a thing where people just Superman is just too old and he's played out and people don't care. Hunter says if James Gunn's Superman movie makes 650 with inflation 850 out of 200 million. Again, I don't think that would matter. If they're saying their goal's 500 and then 700 is the big thing, they're not going to be like, oh well, only made 500, but with inflation it would have been this. It's today's money. It's about, like I said, no one talks about Gone with the Wind being the top movie. It's Avatar, right? Even if that's a bad thing to talk about, that's the case. But anyways, to go to this situation again, yeah, chat. If you got more questions, anything pop off, please do, because we got. I didn't pimp it. All that talking I did alone without Taylor. We got this topic, and then we got tons of trailers coming up. But I want to get your thoughts on this. So, two things that have come out the past week. That again, this came from the Wrap. That supposedly at one point before Gunn was hired, they were talking to Michael Bay about doing a Man of Steel sequel. And then another thing that came out, because obviously Mission Impossible came out and promotion, stuff like that. This was rumored a long time ago, around 2017, like after Fallout, that supposedly Mcquarrie and Henry Cavill had gone and pitched a Superman movie to Warner Brothers, and I guess they passed, but he shared more details that there's going to be a Green Lantern in there. He said, which I would love to see the script, he said that the first 5 minutes of the movie was Akin to Up, where something really big happened, and that set the stage for the rest of the movie. Again, I guess that they maybe killed off Lois if he's saying Up, but even then, that would have been interesting. So, what do you think about this? That there were, these, whether they were pitches or talked about this idea of Michael Bay or the Christopher McQuarrie team, and the big idea was that Tom Cruise was going to be Hal Jordan at that time too, right? So,
Right.
what do you think about these rumblings that have came out that were from the past? And is there any one of those that you're like, man, I like James Gunn, but I wish we would have got this instead. Like, what did you think about when you heard the Bay news and the Cruise McQuarrie news?
Oh my goodness. Well, it's kind of it's weird to think about just like a Man of Steel 2, I guess, in that sense.
So I don't know about Michael Bay. McQuarrie said that his Man of Steel 2 would have, none of the stuff in the first one would have been ignored. They wouldn't retcon anything, but it would have been very more standalone. It's like, how you can watch Batman and Batman Returns, they're not that linked together, right? Like
Right.
it's Keaton on another venture. So McQuarrie at least made it sound like it was going to be Cavill another adventure and stuff. And I imagine it's probably cosmic if Green Lantern was involved, so some space stuff, etc. So that's where. But still, both these movies were going to be a sequel with Henry Cavill.
Right, right. Yeah, and I think that's interesting. I mean, it's fun to think about. The idea that Michael Bay would be attached to any of these projects is just kind of it's I can't
Wild
see it.
take.
Like it is wild because I mean the last thing I saw of his was an ambulance. Is that what it was
Yeah,
called?
that came out last. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the last thing I saw, and then before that, obviously, just Transformers galore. So maybe that's the only kind of sense where they thought like, oh, he's got that chaos and destruction down where a whole city is being
Big scope,
destroyed. Yeah, big scope kind
Yeah.
of a thing. And so maybe that's all they were looking for at the time. Like, yeah, this could fit with our MO for what we wanted, a Superman movie with the city being destroyed. But that's
Yeah, those
fun enough.
Transformer movies, right? Like all those, they could look at that and being like, "Oh, that's what we want for Superman," right?
Yeah, and I don't know if that would have been the greatest thing for Superman, but it would have been different from would have been different from the first one, I guess. So I feel like the first one, it's such a slow burn because they're really tackling his
Yeah.
humanity.
I don't think it
And
would
I
have been a
don't
slow burn with Bay. I think it would have been grip it and rip it, which I don't know if
No.
that's good or bad, but I think
Yeah.
no slow burn there. So
No, there really isn't. You're just with Michael Bay. I feel like you get like crude jokes and just
yeah.
high octane all the time, right?
Amy
And-
Adams would have been dressed in some skimpy clothing. In this
no, it would have been
movie.
Megan Fox as Lois Lane.
No, but Amy Adams, it was still continuity, same continuity. So maybe it
Oh,
would have been
right,
like her
yeah, of
sister or
course.
something.
Yeah.
I'm Lana Lane, and then she's like Superman has to save her from a tree, and you see up her skirt, and like I don't know, ma'am, you should be wearing underwear. So, what about McQuarrie and Cruise's lantern and all that jazz?
Yeah, that's interesting because wasn't Tom Cruise supposed to be an Iron Man at one point?
Yeah, he was the original, one of the original people, but then he wanted the mask not to cover. There's a bunch of rumors they didn't want the mask to cover his face, and it
Right,
just
right.
sounds like they couldn't creatively get on the same page.
Yeah, I just feel like he is someone who has wanted to get his toes wet in a superhero project of some
Yeah.
kind. So that one. That's interesting. Him as a Green Lantern too. I could see something like that. I could picture it. I I don't know how far he would take it. I feel like if it didn't get off of its feet right away, he probably would have bowed out pretty quick.
Yeah, it's a question because I think Fallout. Yeah, Fallout's the biggest, most profitable Mission Impossible movie. So you'd have to think if like let's say that movie comes out, then 2.5 years later, you got all that marketing of Henry Cavill, and that was the most popular it ever been. You got Tom Cruise, and then all of the marketing you can say from the director, from the team of Mission Fallout, right? Like I do think that would have been a hit. Michael Bay one, I don't know. I think Mcquarrie with coming off the hype of Fallout, I think they would have. I think that would have succeeded. And there's other stuff in there they could have been doing, but I think that was the time. And yeah, it's tough to. Is there? Yeah, before you move on, are you happy we're getting what we're getting with James Gunn, or is there any of these two that you wish you would have got more?
I'm happy because I mean
Yep.
we're getting Green Lantern, and you know they're. I mean
True.
he's choosing to start off with a new Superman, so there's that. So it
Mhm.
just feels like it's kind of like pulled from between the two that you had pitched there, where we're getting Green Lantern and then we're getting more Superman in this project. So it's like a
Yeah.
spiritual successor in a way.
Yeah, Bay. I think there's some fun stuff there, but not. I don't think Superman. I think Superman still needs some subtlety and some earnestness, and I don't think Michael Bay has had that in his films for a long time. Even though in Ambulance, there's some great moments with the brothers. I think Superman needs a bit more tact per se.
Hmm.
Mcquarrie, I don't know how. I'd love to know the meanings. I would love to know why. I will say that James Gunn is probably better for what they're doing right now. If they want the DCU a universe, Mcquarrie is not that guy because I think they're going to take it one film at a time, right? They're putting Tom Cruise as a Lantern because it fits, not because, well, Tom, we want to set you up for 10 other projects, right? I don't think that's it. I think if you were in the era of, hey, we're just gonna make one-offs like back in the day, like Marvel and DC. We're just gonna, own continuities, no crossovers. Mcquarrie is a great pick, and then it's tough because I could say maybe on paper that movie versus what James Gunn could make. I think there's a chance the Mcquarrie movie could be better because even though I had lots of problems with, with Final Reckoning, there's some fantastic stuff in the Fallout stuff or in all those movies they did together. And
Hmm.
the other thing will have to be because for the most time, there's obviously moments where it doesn't work, but I really enjoyed the humor of the Mission Impossible Fallout franchise or just the Mission Impossible franchise that McQuarrie did with them. With James Gunn, I enjoy a lot of his humor. Don't get me wrong. I gave all those Guardians movies perfect scores. I love the holiday special, but I've said this before. I don't want that humor in Superman. Where
Right.
McQuarrie, like that, to me, the humor Mission Impossible, that is like the right type of humor I would like in a Superman movie. That's pretty pitch perfect. Guardians or Suicide Squad, Creature Commandos, I don't want that in Superman. If that stuff happens, each joke will like actively start to take down a score. There could be like a certain character that does in a certain scene, and maybe it'll work, sure. But I don't want them to have that same vibe. So if I trust someone making the better movie, yeah, I don't know how Warner Brothers turned that down. Fallout was the biggest one yet. Cavill had so much hype. If you have Tom Cruise on board, don't know how you're saying no at that point. Like that just shows to me how like Warner Brothers were just idiots. Just back then were idiots, and hopefully they're not now, but just idiots of like all these people, Cruise, Cavill, McQuarrie have never been hotter, and you're like, we're good, and it's like, it's not, and how easy is it too? Him and Cavill already worked together, and they're not even saying like, imagine if we like, we want to reboot it, we want to do this. It's just because I don't know for sure, but maybe it's just because it was tied to the Zack Snyder films. They really wanted to distance themselves, but to me that was I think a mistake. But and who knows? Because maybe that movie comes out, it's a big hit, and we're talking about Man of Steel 3 or 4 right now, right? And this universe doesn't happen. I don't know, and that's a whole different can of worms. But I think it's interesting to see how incompetent Warner Brothers kind of was back then, and I wish we got that movie. You can't get both, right? Because I think we oh, what was the other chicken and egg scenario? Oh, I can't remember. Oh, it's when we talked about Superman Returns when we did that retro. Check it on Patreon. We reviewed every single movie, right? And I think I can't remember. I think you guys actually were no, but I was someone that was like, oh, I would actually like to see more. But then when you asked me, would you like to see a Superman's Return sequel or Man of Steel? I go, well, no, I still like Man of Steel more than this. And if you did a sequel, you would actively take that out, right? So same thing. Maybe I'll see James Gunn's Superman in a month, and we'll go, wow, this is an all timer. If you got the Mcquarrie one, this wouldn't exist, right? The same way as like if Batman and Robin is a hit, The Batman Begins does not exist. They go out and make Batman Vengeance with Nicolas Cage's Scarecrow and Madonna's Harley Quinn, and I'm sure there's aspects of that that are fun and great. But to me, I much prefer the Batman Begins. So that's where it's like we all have to see. Now, again, cut to this in a month. If I'm here giving James Gunn's Superman a 6 out of 10, you're damn right. I wish there was a Christopher McQuarrie Superman. So it's all about perspective. But I trust James Gunn. Like I don't think that could be any at least a 7.5. If it's lower than a 7.5, I'm pretty worried. Do you have a scale of what you think at least Superman's going to be with the creative team they have right now?
Ooh, I'm willing to say it'll probably be at least a 7.
At least a 7. Okay, so anything lower than a 7, that's when you're starting to be a little let down by it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. No room for error in that.
No room for error. So yeah, so we will be. Actually, no, we just took our. No, we didn't. So we'll take our next ad break, and we'll be right back. All right, we are back. So we got tons of trailers to talk about, but before we get to that, because now we're going to get some questions for Patreon. I want to bring up Cocktail Clay. He asked us. I'll get the correct quote here. It was something that I was surprised it would come at a different time, but hey, here it is for Weekly Geek. The best and worst ideas for a summer date night. Taylor, what do you got cooking there for best and worst?
Best and worst. Well, first of all, Clay, if you're ever, you need those deets for summer date ideas, you can message me anytime. You don't have to use up your Patreon question for this.
Join Patreon. You get unlimited questions. There's no cap on
That's
questions. So, fine.
Yeah. So a good summer date idea. Well, you gotta first things first. You can't just do one thing. You gotta make sure you've got like multiple things lined up. You always got to incorporate food of some kind. So it could be like a quick, go to a cool, like hip, chic restaurant, like not something like super classy or fancy. Chic. Don't
Break
do
the bank. That's
yeah.
what I did. That's what I did on Emily's first date night. Though I took her
On
to
the first date.
I can't remember what that place was called. It was downtown Kelowna. Oh, I'll ask Emily what our first date was. Yeah, because you got to remember, people don't know this. Emily is 3, sometimes 4 years older than me. So I was like 19, 18. So I was like, I got to impress this older woman. So I took her to a nice place. That night I put in a good shift. I was like, I got to pull out all the moves here. So I can't remember, God, where it was, but it's closed down now. So let me find out. But yeah, first night I did take her out to a very expensive place. So.
Well, that's fair. To each his own. I'm not someone who think I'd take someone to like a super fancy place in the first. Like, for me, my wife, like the fancy restaurants and stuff, they came after we were dating.
She had
for
to
a little
earn
bit.
it, Taylor.
She had to earn it. She had to earn it. But then when we got married, we started going to the real fucking fancy places, like real expensive, and it's like the meat just. I've never had meat like that in my life. But anyways, like go somewhere, slide the food in there, and if you slide the food in with like a cool activity, something fun, something a little bit, people aren't really doing that much anymore. Like go rollerblading, do something cool. Like from my experience, I took my wife on our first date axe throwing, and that was a hell of a lot of fun because we turned into a game. We were throwing axes. We're like, okay, so the next
Madison
one
was
like
worried before she met Taylor, though.
she
so
was
just get
worried.
that
She
out
was
there.
worried
I
'cause
thought
we
it
were
was a
going
bold
out of
choice.
town.
Yeah.
It was bold, but yeah. So that I incorporate a little bit of a game in there, being playful, just like okay, like if you first
run
one
and dodge the axes.
That's right.
Go. You ever watch the show You? That's me.
Holy fuck! But yeah, just like whoever lands the axe doesn't have to pay for dinner, kind of a thing like that. And of course, I lost, and so I paid for dinner.
Did you lose on purpose?
I don't think I did. No, I think
bastard.
I think I
Wow.
tried my heart out. But it's like she's a natural axe thrower. But then after that, then we snuck in with a movie at the end, not a movie theater, it was a movie back at my place. Just bring them back.
Yes.
The cozy one-on-one kind of a time. But yeah, I'd say yeah. So incorporate food into an activity. Make the activity like you're a grown adult, so you don't have to be like playful kids or anything like that, but just like try and tap into that kind of like fun youth, kind of like happy-go-lucky, like let's just go have a blast, kind of like fun vibes. Don't have to be formal and black tie suit, sit at a fancy restaurant table, like chair, and just like talk job, talk shop, anything like that. Like have fun, be relaxed, and
I
just
did
talk
get all
about.
dressed up for my date. I had a tie and dressed. I was the complete opposite. Not a summer date though. Ours was winter, so there you go. A little bit different. So
Winter, that is different. That
yeah,
is different. Yeah.
yeah. Worst date, worst summer date.
Worst summer date. This is tricky, and I was thinking about this one. Actually, okay, okay. This is more like an experience rather than maybe like an idea. But if you live by the ocean, you always got to be careful where you're going, because specifically oceans. I mean, some oceans are worse than others. Sometimes you find lots of unsuspecting sea critters and stuff like that. But for the most part, whenever I go back to my hometown, like we got ocean there, and so I like to bring my wife and my daughter out to the beach and just check it out because it's a lot of fun, the fresh air, and just you can see the wildlife and everything like that, and it's an absolute blast. But on top of that, you also run the risk of some of that wildlife not necessarily being I don't know, conscious is the right word. Well, maybe not conscious. I'll just say when I went to this beach one time with a previous person I was dating, I thought, oh, this will be a great time. We'll go to the beach and it'll just be beautiful and everything like that. And it was like a long staircase going down, and right at the end of the staircase on the beach there was a seal with its head smashed in.
Oh my
Uh,
god.
this was a horrible date. It was absolutely horrible. So
Fuck.
it was
Tears
not
like, look at
good.
my work.
Yeah. Pull my axe out.
Yeah, run.
Yeah, right now it's your turn.
Worst date to best date. Go.
So just make sure you pick the right location, because some locations where you're relying on there to be some wildlife, you can really run the risk of nature just like just ripping you to shreds and just being a little bit too au naturel. So yeah, watch out for nature and wildlife.
Okay, so best ideas, I'd say like just meet up, find the closest alley, and then just raw dog the fuck at each other. No, I'm joking. I think it has to be. I like that one.
I know someone that's happened. So
You know more than one people, I think. For me, I think honestly, you always comes down to the person and the differences and who they are. For me, in the summer and spring, the hike is the way to go. A good walk, because I feel like what happens is on don't ever, and I guess so. Here's worse. It is obviously if it's super hot, that changes it. But I think a movie, Taylor's right. Movie at someone's house, that's fine. A movie in the theater, terrible. Worst day idea ever because you don't talk. Like you don't, right? You just sit there and you're in silence for a few hours. I think you could do a movie and then go get dinner after, but a lot of people get dinner and see a movie. Go get the movie and then see that after. But I would say a movie, unless it's just scorching hot, but then do it at your place. So yeah, I think a movie first date is like a bad thing because you just don't vibe with each other, and maybe there's a chance she, especially you, Clay, really loves this movie, and you just fucking hate it, and you're like, oh, this isn't the one, Where once you start to like them, you go, okay, I'll give them some credence, but the hike to me is the best one because I feel like and that has to be like a somewhat lengthy, and I'm not sure exactly the locations you would go, Clay, but to me it's like that 45-minute hour because even when you're getting dinner at a date or something like that, you're going to talk about like, oh, how's your day been? Give me a little bit about your life. If this is like early on, right? But then what happens is you get food. Also, you're still talking, but you're eating, and then the date ends. And maybe you're going to go back to someone's place. Maybe it's just a first date. You're feeling things out. I feel like with a hike, you start to have conversations that you would not have on a dinner date or a situation where you're maybe just together for an hour. Because if you're, with Taylor's, it worked out for him. But if you're in a date where there's lots of activities, sometimes that takes away from the conversation. And it depends. Where I'm a talker and I like getting to know somebody, the hike and the walk and stuff, that's great because once you've been walking for half an hour, you've done the whole like, oh, how's work been? How's your family? Like you've talked about like the basic minimum stuff. Then you start to get deeper. And I think that's where either you realize one, we're not good for each other, or two, you start to make more of an imprint on that person as far as who your personality is, and vice versa. And that's where I feel, to me, that's just like you're always getting to know more. And that's a good thing too, is the next time you go on that hike, if you do it again, I think it's multiple dates are good because you've already talked about that deeper stuff. So you're just going to continue to go deeper and deeper. And I just feel like you start to get a really good cadence. And I would suggest on the bad side, you can do a couple, but I'd say those first hikes, make sure it's not like it's tough because you might say, "Hey, let's go hike," and yeah, oh yeah, let's go hike, and could I bring a couple friends? You don't want to say no, so I'm not saying never do hikes with your friends and her friends, or vice versa, or his friends. Not sure whatever way you're going, Clay. That's fine. But like you want to get at least a couple hikes by yourself because the friends can create different dynamics, right? They undercut you, they get in the way. At the same time, if you're trying to impress them, sometimes it goes great. If those friends love you, then it's like, oh man, I'm really in, and I like her. That's great. But I think you need to kind of balance that, be like a one with me, one without, and that's tough, right? Same thing. If that person keeps kind of always mentioning their friends or bringing their friends along, maybe that's not the greatest because just, or that could just be something that they have some anxiety stuff. They don't want to be alone. Same thing too. Don't like Taylor's joke. Like, unfortunately, the way mankind has been the last 40 years, lots of men have ruined it for people, right? So there might be some people legitimately that nothing is wrong with them. They just might be scared to go on a hike with a male they don't know with nowhere else, right? Like that's thing. So that's where pick somewhere very public, like Mission Creek. When we go, that's for a place like that's somewhere where it's an open area, but you're always bumping into people. So if there's a place like that, go. And if you can't hike in the woods, somewhere where there's people, because then it's like, okay, even if he's a fucking axe murderer, someone's gonna hopefully save me. So that's what I'd say. Worst idea is something with friends, or the like the movie or some event where you're not talking much, you can't talk, or best date, long walk. Even then, if it's a long walk to the beach, if you can find a long beach, do that. So there you go. That's a very random question, Clay, but great. That was a fun conversation there. All right, so we're gonna talk about trailers here. So we're gonna do the Netflix ones first, and then we'll probably take our next ad break. And nice easy cutout for Taylor. All right, fucking, there's this motorcycle guy. He's going on. Do you hear him? Do you hear him?
Oh, I hear him. I hear him.
Fucking bastard! I'm making content here.
That doesn't sound like a motorcycle. That sounds like a little tiny little thing.
Oh no,
Like
it's
a
not.
50
It's like
50cc little cart.
It's actually a chainsaw, and some guy's just chasing a girl down the street. I asked him if everything was okay. He said they were just on his first date, though. So I'm like, okay, whatever you're into. But yeah. So there's a lot of trailers. So we usually throw a bunch at them at you, but I'm just gonna go one by one. Let's start. We were talking about Clay. Happy Gilmore 2. This is out in July, end of July. How are you feeling about this? You mentioned in Discord very big ties to Geekverse because in Target where we all met, it was either Happy Gilmore or Frozen 1 or 2. Just one. Yeah, Frozen 1 that was on the TV all the time, depending who's on there. So obviously, I think we've all stressed that we're big fans. We like this first film. How are you feeling about Happy Gilmore 2?
I'm feeling pretty good about it after watching the trailer. Like, there's some stuff that seems a little bit okay, and it's definitely not on that first movie tier where they're trying to write off some of the jokes, like, oh, you eat pieces of, like something like for breakfast, and there's a few other things in there too, but I that first one is pure gold. And again, it's the nostalgia because I can't even remember, like, we were working 5 days a week, and
Do you not work 5 days a week now?
well, I do now, but back then, still working 5 days a week, and every time I was on my lunch, I was just popping that into the DVD player and watching Happy Gilmore. So this trailer, it got me excited. It got me really, really pumped. I don't remember. We didn't see. Why can't I remember his name? Ben Stiller, his character, did we?
Yep, he's in there.
He was in the trailer.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember. I remember now. Okay, yeah.
Seems like he's like running like a help group or something like that, and same thing. He drops the same line, like, "Oh, I'm in charge now." Like, I'm on the complete opposite spectrum. I'm with Clay, where I think we're getting another Anchorman 2, Zoolander 2. When they start doing that whole, let's do just the same joke but a variation, the same, like when you talk about the eat the pieces of shit for breakfast, of like, oh, why would I listen to a guy who does that? It's like, okay, we've done that. When you meet Chibs the son and he also is missing an arm and his arm
that got me. How about that?
No. When they remember there was that tall, super tall guy in the first one that was like, he was running. In this one, they have some guy that looks like him where he has like a wig and he's a taller guy. So I'm very worried, other than a few things. And they do that trope too, where they get rid of the love interest. I'm pretty sure she's dead because anytime you see her, it looks like she's in the happy place. So Anchorman 2, same thing. Broke them up right away. Zoolander 2 killed off Matilda right away. That's just something I feel like, not trying to be mean, but I feel like some people can't keep these characters together because that was the end point, right? It's like, oh, they go happily ever after. So when they have to make a sequel they never planned for, they're not creatively enough to go, oh man, um, what should we do with her? Well, we have no ideas. Let's just kill her off. Let's write her out. If it's a sequel that happens a couple years after the first, then I'm more forgiving because, like, okay, like even like Deadpool, right? It's like you had to do this to get to X, Y, and Z. Vanessa couldn't be around, but when it's years later, it just feels like they have nothing. MJF's in there. Shout out to the gimmick. He plays one of Adam Sandler's son. Don't know why they have Happy Gilmore having like 7 kids, and this is coming from a guy that has 5 kids himself. But it just feels like he didn't have like a big family in the show, or in the original. It just there's something off about that. But that stuff at least was newer and looked the most interesting. All the stuff in the golf course, I was really worried about. I'll watch this. I'm not sure if we'll do an official review or just what we've been watching. We'll see because that's July and that's very busy for us. But I know we'll talk about at some point. Yeah, I'm officially very worried, like very, very concerned for Happy Gilmore 2. I think this is going to be a soul crushing experience, and it's going to be one I'll watch. And this one I'll probably never watch again. Like Anchorman 2, I've never watched again, and Zoolander 2, I think I've only watched another. I've been threatening to watch it again to try and give it one more shot, but I've only seen it twice. So I think we're going down the route. It just, and yeah, none of the jokes really work for me. And I hate, you can do a couple flashback jokes, and maybe that's what this trailer's showing because it's a trailer, but this gave me the whole vibe of like,
Oh, uh-oh, we lost a little microphone there. Technical difficulties, but he's back. He's back.
why you're talking like we're driving an airplane. You feel try to unplug this mic. Like, whoa, sorry.
The autopilot stopped. Oh
yeah,
no.
Don't worry, everyone. I'm buying a new fucking mic cord so it stalls. But yeah, officially worried about Happy Gilmore 2. What I'm not worried about, for the most part, Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. What did you think about this? Obviously, movie monsters making a big comeback. We got Nosferatu, Guillermo del Toro, big into the movie monsters and tragic characters and heroes. What do you think about this? Oscar Isaac. We had Mia Goth. We didn't see him, but Jacob Elordi's in this. So, what did you think of this trailer?
Yeah, this it got me excited. I mean, I really do love the movie monsters making a comeback. I really, really do. But this seemed like it was just that Toro classic, colorful flamboyantness that I'm not necessarily like super, super big on. It has like an operatic kind of vibe to it.
Am I wrong and remember? I thought you liked the Hellboy movies and stuff. Or am I wrong and
I do
remember
like the
that?
Hellboy movies, and
Okay.
I don't know why. It's just there's some kind of energy attached to those that it really, really just pulls me in. Um, but when it comes to like the MonsterVerse movies, like the number one that just always just gets me is just Van Helsing. I feel like that's they did Frankenstein right with that one. I really, really like it. So, but that being said, I like there's certain tones in this movie in this trailer that are attractive that I want to see, and I like that scene when they're on that ship or whatever, and it's just like you hear that roar, and the Frankenstein's just fucking swinging around, just beating them.
Victor.
Yeah. So I'm down to see him pop off there.
Do you think they show him before the movie, or do you think they do the Nosferatu route?
I think they'll do the Nosferatu route.
I agree. I think this is a smart route too. Even if he looks shit or has like a fucking porn stash, that's the way to go. Um, Yeah, Guillermo is interesting because I really enjoy a lot of his stuff. There's some stuff I even love. I love visually some things that you do. Like a movie that I think is very underappreciated is one called, I don't know why I'm saying it, but one called Crimson Peak. That's like a gothic horror. Love the way that movie looks. Very slower pace, very different, odd movie, but big fan of that one as far as what they're going for. So I love the set design of all this. Oscar Isaac, who knows how the year goes. He was looking like, man, we could be talking about him come Golden Geeks time for like best actor because he just looked like he's going through it, and he just looks like he's playing a great Victor Frankenstein. Like, I don't know, there's just something. He just looked just doing a tour de force here. Has to do a lot here. I love how big scale this adventure is because lots of Frankenstein is like, okay, it's in a lab, they put the little antenna up and it happens, right? This looks like he's traveling the globe to succeed this. Even when he's climbing up to like get the antenna for the lightning strike, it's like a massive thing that he's climbing and putting like the metal rod in and stuff. I think for me, what lost me a little bit was the last little bit because I'm somebody that's not the biggest fan of his Hellboys, and it felt more only a sliver of it, but still that stuff with Frankenstein felt like a little actiony where they're holding like a gun or something and he breaks it, and just the way, and I'm hoping it's the way the trailer's edited, but it just looked like it was an action beat that I would see in a Hellboy. So I was enjoying this, and this is definitely one that I'm anticipating because Guillermo is fantastic. Like the last Pinocchio he made, absolutely love that, like I did. So I'm expecting for sure for me to really enjoy it, still be a good movie. It's just a question of how much, and that's where I don't think it hit the level of. I remember the first time I saw the Nosferatu trailer recently. That was somewhere where it's like, wow, step up, can't wait. Even something like Weapons coming up with Zach Gregor, like that's where when I saw the trailer, like, okay, wow. I was expecting that with this movie. I was expecting a okay, wow, I'm really excited. But right now I'm just okay, I'm excited. Definitely gonna be a day one. Definitely maybe that's even one I'd be down to review more than Happy Gilmore because I think it would be more fall. But yeah, I'm very curious. I liked a lot of what we saw visually, and I think acting wise, Oscar Isaac's going to kill it because he's one of the best out there. So, what about let's see, the Thursday Murder Club? What did you think about this? We got Ben Kingsley, Pierce Brosnan, Helen Mirren. They're solving some mysteries together in their more senior age here. So I include this because a lot of actors we talk about, and for me, Pierce in particular, very much love. But what do you think about this? Are you gonna be checking this out, or is this a skip for you?
Oh, I'm gonna check it out because Pierce and Helen Mirren here. What was the Amazon Prime show that they were just together in?
No, it's Paramount
With
Plus. It's
Oh, is it
Mobland
Paramount?
with
Because that's
Tom
got
Hardy.
Hardy. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Okay.
watch it when we subscribe for Dexter in July. That's when I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
watch Mobland because it'll all be out, and then I'll have Paramount Plus again. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, that's pretty. It seems like they must have great chemistry on screen together and just be hitting it off. And here, yeah, here they are. And I'm I'm interested in this. It looks fun. It had kind of like a games night mixed with. There's something else that I was watching the trailer. It made me think of. I can't remember it. Um, some of their kind of energy to it, but yeah, it looks like it's fun, and it looks like it's gonna, yeah, it's solving cold cases. I'm totally down for that. I like that kind of stuff, so I'm there for it.
So here my mic on the last trailer says, "Yeah, I feel Frankenstein has the unfortunate task of measuring up to Nosferatu comparisons." It definitely does, and even Werewolf will have that too next year, right? With Eggers' next movie, but that's a little bit easier because that's his own movie, right? So, but with this, it is kind of tough, and yeah, that's where I did prefer what I think this movie is and what Nosferatu was, which is a very dangerous comparison to make. I just think that I will prefer what Nosferatu was, but you never know. Maybe again, trailers are trailers, but yeah, this looked like lots of fun. I enjoy all the people. Wasn't sure if this was a series or a movie, and it's a movie, so yeah, I'm excited to. This comes out like August 29th. To me, it's like a great Friday night summer watch. Don't know if it's going to be amazing. Oh, I have to watch this again. But I'm just hoping that's not like bad because I like all these people. That's at least what I'm hoping for is like, okay, solid seven, something like that, where it's okay, I can enjoy this. But you never know. Netflix has some great concepts and great casts. And when you see the movie, very, very lackluster. So this could be that, but it seems like it's a bit more of a simpler plot line. So we'll see. In that same realm, another murder mystery, we got its date. I don't have it here, but I will find it. Wake Up Dead Man, the third in the Ryan Johnson Knives Out trilogy. That's coming out in November. This one's very much a teaser. This was more just to confirm the date of what was going on. But yeah, what do you think about this? And obviously, stack cast again. This one's looking a bit more, I'd say, serious this go around. I feel like the last two ones have always had a comedic flair, where this feels, don't get me wrong, I'm sure it'll have some comedy in there, but this one definitely felt way more serious or a bit more on the darker side, which feels a bit weird for Knives Out, and it's always about murder. So it's coming out December 12th, by the way.
December 12th. Okay, yeah, because I like the first Knives Out much more than the second one. Well, the second one was okay, but there's not a lot in there that I was really kind of like ecstatic with and running over the hills for. Um, but yeah, I think this one I like the seriousness to it, and I'm curious to see what's going on because this kind of snuck up on me. I remember there were mumblings of a part three or something like that, but I kind of went over my head when the fact that we're here now, we have this announcement trailer for it. So this is one that I am definitely excited for, though, because like I said, the first one is the best in my opinion so far. The second one was below it, and this one we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, no, again, that's all I took from it. That it seemed more serious. Interested to see where we go. Liking Daniel Craig's new look here. Liking the location so far. Yeah, cast is very stacked. Yeah, I agree with you that the first Knives Out is better, but I still very much enjoyed the second one. So even if the third one is that quality, I won't be disappointed. I love watching Daniel Craig do his thing with a lot of other talented actors. And same thing, like we'll probably talk about another trailer in the future, but I don't think these are the type of movies that the trailers can never sell me or not sell me on. Because as long as you got Daniel Craig and a great cast, it's always going to be okay. What's the actual movie? Because I'm always going to be there. They could make 20 of these things, and unless they get really bad, I think I'll always be there for him. But we'll see. Because Ryan Johnson said he wanted to finish his trilogy, and he's like, "Oh, I hope there's a place for me at Star Wars still." So maybe we're getting ready for that, but I don't think we are. Same route where majority of it was a more of a alluding to the past and a look back, but we got a little bit of new footage, but this was more of a date announcement. Stranger Things season 5, the final season. Like I said, the last 30 seconds was more showing off some new footage, not too much, but then they also revealed that they're releasing this in volume. So they're releasing, I think it's like November 26th. The other one's Christmas Day and New Year's Eve. I think it's like a collection of something like three episodes, and then the last episode. Obviously, you got to remember a lot of these episodes are quite big, sometimes just full movie length. So, one, from the little bit we saw here, what do you think? Two, what do you think about the release schedule? And three, where is your hype for Stranger Things right now on season 5? It's also been a long time since the show started and since the last season. That's constantly a meme. But where are you personally with all this?
Yeah, season 1 was, I mean, that was just hype. That was hype. Season 2, season 3 and season 4, we're picking it back up, and I was there for it. That was some good shit. So yes, it's been a while, but I'm very much eagerly anticipating and waiting this. I think the release schedule is perfect because it starts, the first volume 1 releases on my birthday, volume 2 Christmas, and the next New Year's Eve. That's like 3 banger days right there. So this is
The
great.
sounds of a man who can't handle the binge model, doesn't want to be spoiled.
That's right. That's right.
You gonna be doing
I've
that though, Christmas? Like when everything's going on, being like, "Hey, let's gather around and watch Stranger Things."
depending how this Christmas goes, with people being all over the place, it might be pretty low key Christmas. So it might work out that way.
Or you could be busy. You got a family in town that just makes you busy that you're not even home.
Well, luckily, man created.
Oh God! Don't tell me you're
Just
watching. I'm gonna Christopher Nolan you watching the final season of Stranger Things on your fucking phone somewhere. Um, yeah. I guess that all depends on the situation. Same thing for us. It might be a bit more low key because the twins, but yeah, who knows? Kind of pain. I think one of the seasons before dropped on Christmas. I can't remember. Like I will lay into the meme. I can't remember any of this other than I remember the first one dropped in the summer season, and I remember getting that first teaser trailer, and I didn't bring it up on news, and I was so pissed because when I saw that, I was so hyped, and I was like, man, this is gonna be a big thing, and it's like a Hips Travis moment where I don't have the recorded proof, but I was like, man, this is gonna be massive. I just the vibes, everything, and I'm somebody I liked all the seasons. We're gonna do a rewatch. It is either 1 or 4, but for me, I at the time when I saw it 4, I thought this was the best one. I think they elevated in a great way. They tied everything together in a great way. It felt like we're covering new territory, and I know I can see that all the time with the memes. Oh, they waited so long, or oh, we got all this happening before the next season of Stranger Things. I don't think it fucking matters to me because it's like people are still hyped for this. It's still one big story, and if the kids are getting older, well, guess what? Just like Harry Potter in the story, they got older. Yeah, maybe they're playing a bit younger, but do people really care? No. And I'm not saying it's going to maybe beat Squid Game. It'll be interesting because it's funny. Squid Game and Stranger Things have their final seasons this year. I know Squid Game has the record, but I could see Stranger Things 5 taking that record back. Like to me, that's just like a film fan of well, it's been so long. They should, making us wait. It's like I don't think the general audience feels that way. It's just, to me, even the way they call Stranger Things 5, it's a show, but they make it seem like a movie. And to me, that's where they feel like even then people go, oh, they make movie length episodes. People don't care. People love that shit. They love these characters. And to me, it's the same way as we talked about The Dark Knight. That had 3 years in between each movie. I know this is different because it's a TV show, but I think that's how people view Stranger Things. It's almost like above TV. It's like this big event, right? And now it's just going to be, hey, can they not Game of Thrones it and just kind of come up with a terrible ending? That's going to be the big thing now. That'll be after the fact. But no, I'm still excited. What I saw here looked good. Lots of cool stuff going on here. And yeah, I'm excited to rewatch it. And yeah, I think I have faith in them land in the plane safely. They're of course gonna be. I feel like almost in most shows, the final season, there's always some choices. You go, I don't know about that, but I don't think it's gonna be like a Daenerys hearing the bells situation. Could be wrong.
Hmm.
Maybe something happens, but I think they're going to come to a good conclusion here. So, Superbad Mike says first part is on American Thanksgiving, not proper Thanksgiving. Yeah, so that's a good thing. Doesn't matter for us. And yeah, even Christmas is the one that bugs me the most because it's just, luckily, I'll just stay off the phone, not be spoiled, but that's going to be a tough one to watch. New Year's, not as much because with the twins, we're not going to be doing much New Year's. Even the kids don't even stay up to midnight yet. So, that's an easy, that will be our New Year's, watching Stranger Things and stuff. But yeah, I'm excited to have it come to an end and get the full closure there. So let me just make sure. Oh, Squid Game. We got a bit more of that because yeah, the last time we got this was very, very teaser like. Yeah, I have seen your Patreon question, I suppose. Don't worry, we got one more. We got one more Netflix thing, and then we're gonna get to that, and then we'll get to Mike's after. The man hosts one show in Geek First, and he's demanding things. No, Squid Game. This was much more of a trailer, getting lots of plot beats as far as God, I can't remember. What's our main character's name again?
Oh my god, I don't remember.
Anyways, can you look it up while I'm talking? You get scenes of him getting entered back in the game, which is an interesting choice. They're not killing him. We're seeing the game master whatnot watching. We're seeing new games. There's that fucking skip rope one where like, man, that looking dangerous. That's gonna be a bad one. Lots of new dynamics, and it's looking like there already was, but the escalation of season 2 when there's like a civil war among the players of who wants to get on, who wants to stay, feels like it's like ramping up to the point. At one point, he's like choking an innocent, like he's choking someone in the game. So, did you get that character's name?
Seong Gi Han.
That's really the main character's name.
That's what it says.
I feel like that doesn't track at all. What's the actor's name?
Lee Jung.
Lee Jung Jae, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's maybe I just call him by his real name because I know he was in Acolyte, which came out a year ago. Taylor, so happy
Came out a
Acolyte
year ago?
anniversary.
Oh my
yeah.
god.
Shouts out to Plagueis. But no, I think this is good. I like everything they're doing. I think they've shown enough, but not too much. But I also think now this is. I don't think they'll release another trailer, but I don't need. Even if they were, I don't think we talk on the cast. I think I've seen the right amount of stuff. Don't want to see anymore, but I'm excited for this too. This comes out in July. So what about you after this trailer?
Yeah, this trailer it has me pumped up. I'm a big fan. I really like Squid Game. I remember when season 1 was out, and I heard there was the rumblings and there was the hype, and so it was that first
Hear
weekend.
the rumblings and mumblings tonight.
Heard the rumblings and the mumblings. Oh yeah, there's always something. And this was one of those somethings. I binged it, and this was before I had my kid, and so my wife was at work, and so I just spent the whole Saturday or Sunday just binge watching it, and I felt like shit by the time Monday rolled around because I was like, God damn, just didn't feel good after watching that kind of a show. But it was just such a great show, and so when season 2 popped in, I was like, hell yeah, this is sweet. Let's get in this, and so this has me, yeah, ecstatic because that finale to season 2 was something, and I was not expecting it just to be so open ended. It's one of those things where I kept checking like, oh, we got like 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, but there's still so much to cover in this last episode. Oh my god. And so that I love when a show has me on edge like that and has me just keep checking the time of the episode left. So I am very much anticipated for this.
So S-Bubs, he asked us, I'll get the full quote here to do the man justice. He asked, where are you? There we go. If you were an exec and you were given the power to give only one of the Netflix projects we have trailers for a full theatrical release, which would it be? You can even include the last episode of a movie / Stranger Things as an option. So there's two minds here, right? As far as when you said like as an exec, if it's my job on the line and you're saying, hey, Travis, you got to release it that's going to make most money, easily the finale of Stranger Things. That's what I would release. If you were to say, hey, it's not going to be on Netflix, you got to go to theaters, I release that. I do think people would actively go out to see that because they want to avoid spoilers and be this big thing. And I think lots of times those things have the scope of a movie. So from a money exec wise, that if it's like a personal choice, I'm not completely opposed to Stranger Things. I think that would give it a big oomph, but I'm not someone that needs to see the TV show on the big screen per se. But I think that's probably where it would lie, just because they do make those things so cinematic. And even though, and my next option would be because I didn't like love the trailer, Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. I feel like that is gonna be one where I'm watching on my screen, which is still like a 60-inch or whatever. I'll still think, man, there's definitely sometimes I would have liked to seen this on a massive, big blown up my face with those speakers. So those would be the two of Stranger Things finale and definitely Guillermo's Frankenstein because I still don't think I'm gonna dislike that movie. And because even the Hellboys, I don't dislike them; they're just not my bag. I think there's always gonna be something in a Del Toro movie that is like speaks to me, and that's another thing. Yeah, Crimson Tide. Just visually, I saw it in the theaters and it was a great time. So those would be the two. But where are you, Taylor?
Oh gosh, yeah, that's. I think you're onto something with your Stranger Things finale pick, just
Mm-hmm.
to kind of guarantee that success. But you could also go like with a big heavy name behind a project, like Red Notice with Ryan Reynolds and uh, The Rock. I'm just kidding. That wouldn't be great.
Red Nose.
But
Well,
what
it did go to
else?
theaters. Remember, that's one of those ones they
Did
did.
that
Yeah.
actually go to theaters? Oh
Well,
my
that's
god,
that's
that's
Prime
right.
though. That was a Netflix.
That wasn't Netflix.
You're thinking of Red Notice with Gal Gadot and Ryan Reynolds that he
Yeah.
did. Oh, I thought you said Red One.
No. Red Notice
Oh,
with
I
Ryan
heard
Reynolds
Red
and The
One.
Rock.
Okay. Fucking these red movies. God damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that did because I remember I've said this before, but the Fassbender's movie, God, what was it? The Killer. I was wanting that, and we didn't get that all, but we got all the fucking to me shit Netflix movies I had no interest in seeing. It's always the movies I'd like to see theatrical. No, the movies I don't have no interest in seeing theatrical. Yes, Travis. So great.
I would love to see one of the maybe the finale of the first season of Avatar, the live action show that Netflix
Oh,
did, because
okay.
that was absolutely banger. I freaking love that. Which go check out a review. Me and Kirkland, season 2 coming, also a review.
Yeah. There you go. So that's the Netflix portion. We're gonna take our last ad break, and then we're getting into the other trailers: Dexter, Black Phone, Gen V, a bunch of big stuff, and a movie that I'm highly anticipating now. So we'll be right back. All right, Taylor. Where I'm gonna let you pick. We got Dexter, Black Phone, Gen V, Megan 2.0, and the big, bold, beautiful journey. Where do you want to start? We got that's a very different set of trailers together. What would you like to start with?
I would like to start with Megan 2.0.
Okay. The
Yeah,
floor is yours.
this was not the trailer I was expecting at all. A completely different spin,
Did you
but
see the first trailer for this movie?
Mhm.
Okay, that kind of had some of the weird stuff going on, right? Of like bitch versus bitch, you
it
know?
did. But this trailer just like sent it
Mm.
up even
Yes,
further,
on
and
steroids.
yeah, and some weird way I was just I was engaged with it and homed in. Like I like okay, this is there's some funny humor in here when they're I can't remember the name of Katie's mom, but she's or aunt, sorry, she's
Yeah,
talking to Megan and is like, oh, you're not gonna kill anyone, right? And she's not saying anything. Like Megan, and Megan's like, shh. There's just some weird things like that. It's unsettling, and I like the idea behind it. Okay, so Katie's aunt is one of these people that could technically stop this other robot that's going killing and everything like that. And so, how does that benefit the relationship between Megan and Katie? Well, Megan swears to keep Katie safe, so obviously Megan is just going to have to protect her at all costs. And I like that kind of narrative. It's fun, but I wonder too. Okay, when Balin Skull's apprentice gets killed, then Megan is going to turn on Katie's aunt and so forth and so
no,
forth. I mean, it just you don't think they'll do that?
no. I think I agree with people. They've gone full Terminator, where from now on Megan will be good, and they'll always just create a new threat for Megan to fight against that. Or even I remember a lot. I don't know if it was the producers or whatnot, and I don't think there's ever been an official rumor, but that idea of people want like Chucky and Megan to go at it.
Well, Chucky hinted at it. I think it was in the series he was watching TV, and I think you see something with Megan. There's some
Oh, okay.
crossover, and he says like, "Oh, she's copying my moves."
Well, and that to me is the perfect thing of like if Megan's on the good side, Chucky can never be on the good side, right? So whether it's Chucky or not, I just think Megan will be good from here on out, and always like the Terminator. Arnold was never bad after T2, so that's what I think.
Oh yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Here, let me just. I don't know if you can hear this.
Oh yeah. Let's see here. Oh, gonna get our video taken down for Chucky.
I don't know if you can
I got
hear
the
it, but
subtitles. I got the subtitles though,
okay.
so I can't hear it. Oh, now this little bitch stole my moves. Yeah, so I think gives her the middle finger. He's looking rough, Chucky. My
Yeah,
God,
he's not looking good.
Jesus Christ. So, yeah, yeah, I still think this looks lots of fun. We talked about it after nine, and I do. Espo's brought this up, and I do agree with it. Where I could see that the first one really wasn't a comedy, and the Megan dancing, some other stuff got meaned upon, and that made it more popular. So like, let's just lean into it. I got his point because I hadn't thought about that before. Because I guess for me, I was just so happy by the first trailer, and even to the extent of this trailer, of I didn't enjoy the first Megan. Thought it was very just fine and kind of bland. So to me, even if they go overboard with the jokes, it's like, well, at least they're doing something, and I still feel that way. But yeah, I got his point in After Nine that maybe they could go too far and they don't really get it and they're not even smart with it. But I still think I prefer that over like what a traditional Megan 2 sequel would have been. I still prefer them going all crazy. Don't get me wrong. I think you could watch this movie and a lot of jokes don't land and it feels a little cringe. But yeah, no, I'm on board. I will watch this, but not in the theaters because I think we told this before. It comes out in July, and July that's a very
Hmm.
tough month. I think it will still do well because I think even though Jurassic World Rebirth has some horror in it, I don't think that's why majority of people go to see that. I think they like that, but that's not why F4 and Superman do not. So I think that'll and that's more of a young girl audience as well, where I don't think like. I think Pedro's for the 30-year-old women and up. Superman, yeah, maybe Jurassic World. I don't think so. Like I feel like that's for that younger audience. So, um, let's see. Superman Mike says Megan is giving off major GLaDOS vibes, and I love it. What is GLaDOS? What am I missing here?
I don't know.
Mike, you have to expand. Secret Portal origin story. Maybe it's something like that. Something I guess we've never played or watched. So there you go. Bad on us. But all right. Speaking of that, let's go. I don't know. What do we want to save? Let's save Dexter last because that's a juicy conversation. Let's go to Gen V. How you feeling with that? Season 2, obviously, Boys is going to its final season. We got this. This is coming September. They just do I have the clip here? I think I added in the clip. Yeah. So we already had a busy fall, and then I was hoping, well, hopefully because I knew they were making it. I knew it was coming. I thought hopefully Gen V's early next year because our fall is also super stacked as well. And they're like, no, September 17th when you got all these movie reviews and Alien Earth is going on. And when I saw that date, this was me, Taylor.
They are going out of their way to fuck me.
That was how I felt. Purely a podcaster problem, but I was like, oh, September, same day as like Alien Earth, or same like 24 hours it's going to come out. But alas, I really like this trailer. I think what I appreciate the most is they're in a very tough position because the boys show is DEFCON 5 as far as the issues, right? It's become worldwide. Like pretty much Homelander's the president, crazy stuff. All these soups are going to release. It's very, anti-human. We're going to kill them. I think there's those big scopes still going on the show, but I think they're smart to still have these characters keeping it to let's take down the school. They're not getting too big for their bridges yet, and I think that's the best way of someone might go, oh, why aren't they going out to help the other heroes? Because this is something that's personal to them and something that's affecting themselves and their other friends. Obviously, we unfortunately had the actor, I can't remember the character that he was playing, but he passed away at a very tragic young age. So you can see they in the show have incorporated that and made that they lost one of their friends. So that's why for me it is like this is a personal issue, and I thought the trailer perfectly answered of why these characters would still be in school and do that. I think also it's smart too. I feel like this trailer was leaning off a lot of the like, oh, we're gonna do a lot of gross sexual stuff. I'm sure that'll be in here, but this one felt way more this like high stakes for our characters, where the first Gen V, because it was just, oh, it's fun and we're meeting new characters, we're in college, that felt very like sex, drugs, and rock and roll. This feels like, no, we're out for revenge, and I think that's a right pivot. I'm not saying you can't do some of that stuff still, but to me, I really like this trailer, and I'm interested to see where they goes. I'm interested also how much more seasons you can get out of this, especially if the boys is the final one, because I think we have two other boys shows announced, but those are both prequels, so that's easy to do, right? Gen V, it might feel weird to like, oh, we defeat Homelander and everything else, and Gen V's the one carrying us through. But yeah, so far, really enjoyed this trailer, and I'm excited. Other than the date, I'm excited to get more of this. So, Taylor, what do you think about Gen V?
Yeah, this I don't know how many more seasons you can do with this show. And that being said, though, I'm really really on board with how this feels. Much more like less that college stereotype kind of stigma kind of thing, and more just like, yeah, we're in the fight, we're in the shit now, like the boys. This is like the post high school, post education graduate heroes crew. I don't know, whatever you want to fucking call them. But yeah, this, you get a few familiar faces in there, and I'm totally down for this. Looks like it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm really excited for it. But I just hope they don't milk it too much. I don't think I need a season 3. I'd be down, just give us the season 2 with them putting up a fight, and then merge them into the boys, because we're nearing the end of the boys show too. So and we know that this is directly, like, it's parallel to what's going on in the boys. So let's combine these shows now.
I could see a third, depending on what happens, of course, in the final season, boys. I could see a third season, but that being it, maybe dealing with the aftermath and just kind of like humans and whatever working together, kind of be like the First Order, where okay, you beat the Empire, but you still some remnants of it. I could see that where you still some Homelander supporters or followers. So I think you can get one more, but that's pretty much it. But who knows? We don't know how the story goes. Next up, Black Phone. Is it just 2? There's no subtitle to it, right? I think it's just Black Phone 2. Yeah. Man, I'm gonna go first here because so Black Phone, really loved the concept. Like, I have interesting just story with Scott Derrickson, or just history, where Sinister I love. I don't know if it's a top 10 horror movie for best, but favorites might be up there. I think it's a great little, just the imagery, the moments, the scares, the pacing of that, what Bagul is, loved it. 2, which he didn't direct, not great. And then Doctor Strange, I like that, don't love it. Same thing with Black Phone. I was looking very forward to the Black Phone. I think Ethan Hawke kills it in that. I think there's some really great stuff about it, but then there's other stuff that's very lacking and just didn't get it to the heights I was wanting. I wanted to be close to another Sinner, didn't happen. I don't know if this can do that, but we're in a world right now where the Freddy Krueger rights, I think, as they reverted to Wes Craven's wife, I think there's all this stuff and that's fine. If the rights are hers and she doesn't want stuff made, that's fine. But we're still getting like Michael Myers, they're still starting Voorhees and stuff. And Freddy Krueger is this classic icon who, just, as of right now, is locked out. And what a great concept, right? And I'll be interested to see how Scott Derrickson like skirts around it. I know there'll be like a different origin, but this literally just feels like he's making a Nightmare on Elm Street film. Like, even the point of like, I thought, because we had heard he was coming back in a more supernatural route. I thought, okay, that's fine, right? That's like in Nightmare on Elm Street, you get that movie and you get told the origin of, hey, he was a murder pedophile, we went and killed him, and then now he's back. Where you can almost look at Black Phone is the origin of that, right? Like, here's the origin of the grabber becoming a supernatural person. But we had just heard, okay, he's coming back as a supernatural being. I'm like, okay, sounds similar to Freddy Krueger, but let's do it. Then once we saw the trailer and like 2 characters were like, he was visiting them in their dream, I'm like, I know it probably can't do that, but I was like, I feel like you could get a lawsuit almost. Like, they're not going to, because there'll be enough differences in the actual movie. But if you were to watch this and let's say you fan edited and took the grabber out and just replaced with Freddy Krueger, you would feel like you're watching a Freddy Krueger reboot. It felt like, and that was just fine, because it's like, hey, if we're not going to do something with Freddy, because whether the rights are, and I don't know how Scott Derrickson feels about that, it's like, let's make something inspired by, right? There's dozens of movies. Quentin Tarantino's work, tons of that is inspired by stuff. Some of our work is because of like, oh, we saw this, like our second film, right? We saw The Lighthouse, and ours is not in 1 as good as that, and 2 as greatly made as that, and 3 the same type of plot. But we saw that, and that inspires like, oh, we want to make something in the same ilk of this, but we're gonna want to do it with this setting and this type of character. So all the time. But I was just surprised how much it looked like Nightmare on Elm Street, but I'm all for it because that's my favorite horror character, one of my favorite horror movies, just favorite movies in general, and any way to get Ethan Hawke back, because I remember when this was announced, it's like, hey, unless it's a prequel, what are they going to do? And to me, some great set pieces, that image of him fucking skating on the ice when he rips off his mask and half his face comes off, like, I think we're going to get lots of really good stuff here. There's also, I can't remember who it is, but there's like some kid or something, they're like talking and they're in like that phone booth and he's just like they're
Oh,
spinning
yeah.
around. Yeah, like reminded me of Nightmare on Elm Street when they're on the bed and Tina's getting brought up. So yeah, I love the isms there, and I'm very excited to have Ethan Hawke back in this character. And I think this, I don't know what their plans are, but this could set them up for a long time. Maybe Ethan Hawke doesn't want to do that, but this feels like once you go supernatural, there's always way back for the grabber. And I think now even more dangerous of this guy who was a grabber who stole children as just a man. What the fuck is he gonna do when he has supernatural powers, right? Just like Freddy, right? And I think that's kind of a fun yin and yang. The same way my last point before I throw to Taylor is with Freddy. You know, he's doing these terrible things to kids, and how they get rid of him is the parents have to sin, right? They decide we're gonna kill him, and the payback to that is, well, now he's gonna come back. Same thing here, where it's like, okay, our main character, I can't remember his name, he used the black phone to get out of there and help him, but I guarantee the black phone also kind of fucks him because it's a way for the grabber to come back. You know, that's like his portal. So it's like kind of that yin and yang of, you know, sinning or doing something bad, and it kind of comes back to you. So, no, even though the first one I was more, you know, lukewarm on, this with the supernatural aspects, I'm looking very forward to. And even some of the shots felt like they were like, it felt a lot more sinister vibes as well. A lot of that film grain, a lot of that aspect ratio. It felt like, okay, we're getting a lot of that type of vibe again. So this one surprised me, and I cannot wait for the Black Phone too. So
Yeah, I'm really excited for this. The trailer was just not what I was expecting, and just seeing how paranormal and that heightened level that he is at and has achieved, as he is terrifying. And I love some of these shots, and you highlighted a bunch of them. Him pulling his mask off, and then him like it's the slow motion where you just hear like the skates skating on the ice, and you see through the smoke, like the snowy fog, like his shadow getting closer, and then he's like skating up towards you. And then yeah, the person spinning in the phone booth, like some crazy fucking scenarios. The person in her bunk bed like shaking, convulsing, like floating off her bed. Like, we're gonna get some crazy shit, and I can't wait. And it is a shame, it is absolutely a shame that Freddy's not able to get back on the big screen or anything like that. I at some point I will watch the rest of all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, because I think I've just seen the
for
one.
a Red Show one day. You know, I'm always waiting. But we got the grabber now. You know,
Got the grabber now. Yeah, that's right. So this is awesome. I'm excited.
all right. Want to get your thoughts on this, Taylor? A big, bold, beautiful journey. Funny enough, I can't pronounce the guy's name. I should pull it up. But directed 2 episodes of The Acolyte. I looked at his IMDb career. He's directed like over 30 things. He's, I think, more a film or a foreign filmmaker that's started now to make some more things that are North American. Same thing with the writer. He's had an interesting career where it's like he has like 700 credits for like writing on Seth Meyers, but then he also wrote The Menu. So it's like a weird combination of people. But you got Margot Robbie, who really, I could be wrong, but I feel like she hasn't been in anything since Barbie, right? Like, that's
I don't think she has. No.
Yeah, because I know she's having her
had her
having
kid.
or had her kid. Yeah, and Colin Farrell been very busy, but yeah, so it's great to see Margot Robbie back. But yeah, what did you think about this trailer?
Yeah, it seems like it's. Oh my gosh, it gave me like an Adjustment Bureau kind of weird vibe, if that makes sense.
Jesus,
Uh,
just not a thriller version, I'm imagining.
no, just something like, okay, there's some kind of. I don't know, there was a quick scene where it looked like this organization operating outside of the norm, and so that's why I feel like, okay, Adjustment Bureau kind of degree. But yeah, it just seems like there's like a lighthearted kind of positive tone to this and to this movie, just being able to re-experience these different past occurrences like through these doors, I guess. I'd never heard anything about this movie before, so I didn't know what to expect really, but I really like their chemistry, Colin Farrell and Margot Robbie together. Like they hit it off. And I don't know, just in some of those films, it feels like, okay, they're just showing up for a paycheck. And yes, I like a lot of those movies too, but like this, it just feels like, okay, it doesn't feel like that at
Actors
all.
or these two specifically?
Actors, not these two specifically. Actors. So these
Colin
two
Farrell,
just
Margot Robbie always just fucking phoning it in.
phoning it in, yeah. But they feel genuinely present in this, and they're here, and I don't know, there just feels like there's a lot of passion involved just trying to tell this story, and whatever this story is or trying to get to, fuck if I know, but I am curious.
Yeah, I can say that, I've said this before, that some of the geek superhero stuff, not anticipated. When I got that weapons trailer, that was up there. Life is Chuck. I can say this is in the top three of my most anticipated movies of the year now. I had heard about this because I heard it's probably more on the Oscar side, but now it's so weird. I'm like, I don't know if it's going to get there. But even the pairing of these two, I was like, that's an interesting combo. Not bad, but just like interesting, different actors, different eras as well. But man, this thing fucking blew me away. I cannot wait. This is my bag. If it's done well, this is like, you're gonna love this. This is like Cloud Atlas. This is like Everything Everywhere All at
Nice.
Once. This is like kind of to a smaller degree About Time. Or have you ever seen Eternal? God, I'm screwing up the title. Eternal Sunshine for the Spotless Mind. Have you seen that with Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet? You should watch that one day. That's a thing where they're dating and they break up, and it's so painful. There's like, and it's just the norm. There's a company that will wipe your memories of that certain person, not the rest of your life. But then they somehow still find each other again, and then they realize that they've dated before and stuff. Movies that have and San Junipero for Black Mirror. This felt like Black Mirror, but a happier version. San Junipero, one of the greatest hours of anything. Movies or TV shows or whatever that have a high concept of sci-fi, but is used to do this whole the appreciation of life and the little things and what love means and what people means. Man, that gets me. Where the fuck am I right here? After I saw this trailer, this was me the whole
Chills.
that was me. The score, the music they chose, which is funny because me and Emily always meme. I'm not a big fan of Gracie Abrams. That songless trailer is J.J. Abrams' daughter. She's a singer now, and anytime I've heard her stuff, not been a fan. But this one got me. It was some cinematic trailer music editing as well. But man, this idea of going through different doors, and I love just stuff of like Colin Farrell's character sees the door and he knows right away that's his high school. And I agree with you that the chemistry of these two seem like it's palpable, seems really good, just seems very natural. This feels like a sequel, or it feels like, oh, we've seen like the way like Emma Stone, Ryan Gosling have done like 3 movies together, like, oh yeah, of course they got good chemistry, they've worked together many times. This is the first time a Harley Quinn and Penguin, of their ilk are working together. And no, it's, to me, I agree with Clay. Like, it could be messy, but to me, if it hits right and it's this big grand adventure, but it's really about that's, like Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's like, that's about the multiverse and the world ending, but really it's about appreciating who you have and what you have and the time you have left. And I think this has a little bit to do with that. I'm very interested at the end when they're talking about that they'll hurt one another. So I'm curious of, same thing as if it's like Eternal, where maybe they previously dated and they kind of forgot, or this whole movie is kind of flashbacks and they are getting back to the point of getting back together. Like, it was a weird line of them talking about like, oh, they're gonna hurt one each other by dating. It's like, well, how would you know that? It seems like you guys are having this great adventure together. Like, what's the trauma you guys have? And maybe it's just other stuff, right? And I agree with you with Colin Farrell. I think he's always been a good to great actor. I feel like he's hit his peak now. If he's putting out his best work, there's that scene in the trailer when they're at his high school and he sees the girl. He's like, oh, this is the day that I tell her I love her, and she tells me I don't. And he's like, I can just feel like I was like, it feels like a genuine person, right? Like, it just felt like not an actor. And I was like, man, between Penguin and between Banshees of Inisherin, did you ever see that as well?
No.
Oh man, he's operating at such a high level right now. So yeah, this is a day one for me. This is right up my alley, because yeah, I love the dark shit. I love Saw. I've said before, my favorite superhero movies are when they're depressed and bad stuff's going on. But I also love a movie that just like makes you feel like, man, life is good and I gotta appreciate what I got, because you never know. And I think this movie, I love the idea of, okay, you're whatever's happening with this door, clearly even that little radio they have on their car, they live in like a high-tech thing. So I don't know, is this like a magic thing? Is this like a simulation, this like an AI simulation they can create? Whatever it is, I love this concept of going through and they're going to kind of relive some of these moments, whether to take them back or look at them differently. Like this moment where you can see Colin Farrell doing the school play, but as like a nearly 50-year-old man, right? But he's dressed as like a kid with baggy clothes. You have Margot Robbie going to see her mother when she's sick, but it's like an actress. It's Lily Rabe, who I love, who's the same age as Margot Robbie, but clearly it's when she was a child, and that's when the mother got sick. Like, I feel like it's gonna be one of those movies, if done right, you're gonna be fucking ugly crying. Like, remember at the end of About Time when Donald Gleason and his dad go back in time for one last adventure?
yeah.
Oh my god, it's just like not a dry eye in the house. So yeah, I love it. Espo says, I had known the concept, but once I watched Eternal Sunshine, it was so much better than I expected. 5-star movie. Yeah, and that's where it's a weird movie. I definitely recommend it, Taylor, one time. I can't remember. Oh, there's another good actor in there that has a small. I think it might be Ruffalo, actually. I think
Oh, that's
Ruffalo's
on
in
my
there, like a
list.
young Ruffalo. But yeah, it's Jim Carrey in a serious role, but there's some still good comedic beats, and that's I suppose what I thought of when I saw this. I'm like, this feels like Eternal Sunshine of this generation, and yeah, I cannot wait. I really hope we get this because sometimes smaller movies we don't get, or it takes a little while, but I'll be there in September. And yeah, like I said, Weapons, Life of Chuck, this my most anticipated movies. That I was not expecting to add this to the list, and I did. So finally, we'll end it all. Yeah, it is Ruffalo. Yeah, it's very young Ruffalo, and it's. Am I wrong? It's Elijah Wood's also in that, right? S-Bubs, I think, and they're very, because the thing is too, like with this tech, if it goes in the wrong hands, Taylor, some people can do some like suspicious things, and bad things. So, and I think Elijah Wood's courting some characters, yeah. There, and I think Kirsten does it. I got to rewatch it again, but yeah, and it's one of those movies. Same thing.
Kate Winslet, Kirsten Dunst, Mark
Yeah.
Ruffalo, Elijah Wood.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, there's a good subplot there. And it's another movie that, same thing. It's like, that's the idea of, okay, if let's say you and Madison broke up, Taylor, and you had your memories wiped, but if you met back together, should you date? Because it's like, well, you already did it once, but you don't have those memories, but there's an attraction there. And it's a very, like, those philosophical questions. And yeah, I cannot wait for a big boulder journey. This could be one that super disappoints me, but the trailer though, fantastic. Finally, the main event here, end us off. Mike has a question which we will get to. Dexter Resurrection. Obviously, we are on quite a journey with Dexter. I did the whole Dexter retrospective. Kirkland is currently watching it, rewatching it. Detoll in our Patreon, he's watching it for the first time. And then we reviewed Dexter New Blood, which was supposed to be a kind of apology to the ending of Dexter because it ended in a very controversial and, let's just say it, bad manner. And then you got Original Sin, but those did very well. So Original Sin, we have reviews for all these. Season 2 is coming for that. But then New Blood did so well. They're like, well, what else could you do? I was like, well, we could make Dexter survive a gunshot to the heart. So I will say, maybe Detoll knows some stuff. Detoll, if you're listening, or anybody else that's catching up on Dexter, come back or skip, because we will talk about spoilers in this a little bit. But yeah, the ratings were huge. Like, both of them had like records for certain different things. So here we are. We're doing Dexter Resurrection. Like we got teased in News Blood. It seemed like he, survived the shot. We got Batista coming back right away, talking about if he's the Bay Harbor Butcher. And what happens there? Dexter says, well, I'm going to skip town. So if there's, like, this is what I love about Dexter and Batista. It feels like, we'll have to see when we watch the show, but it feels like there's even like 5% of Batista, because he hugs him and he's like, oh, it's so good to see you. It's like seeing a ghost. Because Batista lost a lot of people in that show, and Dexter was like one of his good friends, even if it's a fake friend. Seems like there might even still be a 5% chance that Batista does not believe that Dexter's the
for
Bay Harbor
sure.
Butcher. But now with him leaving that hospital, that 5% is going to be gone. I love when Dexter gets to New York. He's like, what a better place to hide where no one knows you are. I, again, will go poo on that. He's in New York. There's a manhunt. New York's one of the biggest cities in the world. There's cameras everywhere. That is one of the worst places to go if there's a manhunt for you. But we're going to talk about it. The plot line for this is, so he gets to New York. I don't know if he gets there because of Peter Dinklage or because of Harrison. But the plot line is he meets Uma Thurman, who's meeting with Peter Dinklage. Like, oh, this is the master of the manor. And it is Peter Dinklage, who is a fanatic, whatever, of serial killers. And we don't know why and what he's doing and what the end game is, but he is collecting or introducing other serial killers to other serial killers. Neil Patrick Harris, Eric Stornstreet, Kristen Ritter play serial killers, and obviously you got Michael C. Hall. And he's brought them all together. And we don't know why, and it's a lot of manhunt stuff. It looks like Harrison's struggling with who he's going to be. Batista's hunting him. Dexter's definitely killing some people. We knew Harry was back, but Harry is back. We also got this week confirmed that fucking Dokes is going to come back, which is so funny because we just talked about that in After 9, right? We're like, oh, it'd be great if we bought him back. They announced, which makes sense, the premiere is going to be 2 episodes. And I think in the first episode, we're getting Trinity, Miguel, and Dokes. It sounds like they're kind of doing like these 3 ghosts will visit you on Christmas night. Like, sounds like whether he's dying or in a coma, whatever, these people are going to visit him. So obviously we got Dokes back. What did you think about this trailer, Taylor, of Dexter's being recruited by Peter Dinklage, who just loves serial killers? We don't know what's up, but Dexter's meeting a bunch of other killers, and here we go.
Yeah, the idea behind that, it seems a little bit too, I don't know, TV showy, like reality TV kind of a
Dexter is a TV show,
thing. It is a TV show, yeah, but just like the theme of it, it's weird. It doesn't seem to me like a very Dexter kind of vibe, and I feel like yes, people are pissed off about the Dexter being the lumberjack kind of thing, but just him going and living that kind of a world to just transferring over, be like, yeah, I'll hide in New York City, like you said, it just doesn't really make sense. Why didn't he just go to New York City to begin with? Because then no one would have found him there. Because I mean, if he got found out in like the smallest town in the world, like, and he's gonna get found out here too. But yeah, just the intentions and the motivations of this guy, of Peter's character and his affiliation with serial killers, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to figure out, okay, how did Peter's character discover like that these are serial killers? Why would these serial killers willingly reveal themselves?
Yeah.
Is it just a complex of like Sam Witwer's character, where he did kill someone, but it was more or less like he just wanted to take credit? Like there's some serial killer thing, like they just want
I think
to
these are all
be
killers. I think they're all different killers, which is weird that they.
Well, I think so. I think that's true, and I think that's it. Like, why do they want to be known? They want to be known. They want to, like, I don't know. So like, is Dexter gonna fess up? Be like, yeah, I'm the Bay Harbor Butcher. Da 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 da. And no one else knows that he's a serial killer who kills serial killers, and anyone that does know that is dead, except for maybe Harrison.
Unless he says he's the Bay Harbor Butcher, right? Because that was what the Butcher did.
I guess they figured that out, the Bay Harbor Butcher?
Yeah, in season 2, that he targets criminals. So.
Then that would be very, I mean, if I was a serial killer and it's like, oh, you're the Bay Harbor Butcher? You hunt serial killers? Then I'd be like, fuck, I'm out. Like, this is a serial killer who's mastered killing serial killers.
Superman Mike says, I think this might be worse than Lumberjack Dexter. So I'm of 2 minds here. I think... One, I do think there's going to be a lot of good fan service because I do think Dokes, Trinity Miguel, Batista, I think those are things that are going to harken back to the old show. And I actually think they're going to do those things well. I think they're going to tie, and even Harry, right? They're going to tie back in. And Michael C. I'll talk about this. I mentioned this on some cast or something. I can't remember when we got announced, but when Harry was back, to me, that was, this is, with it being called Dexter Resurrection, this is about him trying to get back to Dexter of old. And Michael C. Hall said the reason Harry's back is because now Dexter's brought back the code and he's trying to follow that more than ever. And that's what I thought, because Harry in the original show is always Dexter's conscience. He always kept him in line to try and do good and do the right thing and follow the code. So I think there is something, because again, you have to, my worry is they're not going to really pay much attention to the old show, because in the last episode you saw Dexter, he killed an innocent cop, So for me, what I want Dexter to be, which is what I'm worried about, we'll get there. It looks like Michael C. Hall's having a fun time in this, so great for him. But even Dexter, like when he turns in the chair, he's like, I'm back. Like, this doesn't seem like a character. What I thought was the trajectory of, I did a lot of bad things, killed someone innocent, I got shot, I survived. There has to be a reason I survived. And I thought it'd be a full 180 of, I'm going to go back to the code and I'm going to make up for, I can't remember his name, but he was like Harrison's wrestling coach guy. I'm going to make up for him. I'm going to make up for Reed. I'm going to make up for Deb. Now, that always goes bad, but still the idea of, hey, I'm not even going to have a family. I'm just going to kill bad people because... like, that should be Dexter's penance for surviving and killing innocent people. You got to make a difference in the world. Go back out there, get the code. But Dexter looks like he's having a good time. He's laughing. I guarantee he's going to fuck Kristen Ritter, like Lady Liberty. Like, it does not feel like he's going to be struggling. Or I guarantee it, because all those ghosts are going to visiting, him. He's gonna struggle with it like for one episode, and then like he's good. Like, and kudos to him. And that's where I'll say on the flip side, where I'm gonna try and enjoy this. It looks like this show is gonna be lots of fun. I think with those ghosts coming back, I think Michael C. Hall is gonna be chewing some scenery. Like, look at that cast. We have Uma Thurman, Peter Dinklage, Kirsten Ritter, Neil Patrick Harris. That's some great actors. Like, I think the show is gonna have a very fun quality to it. At the same time, with this trailer and the plot line of it, I will play it one more time.
They are going out of their way to fuck me.
I agree with Mike. This is worse than Lumberjack Dexter. This is jumping the shark. I've talked about this before, where the book series was like this, where the first 3 books was very much like the show, a serious crime drama, serial killers, like CIS, Miami type of deal. And then it was, oh, well, Dexter's Dark Passenger is actually like an entity that's latched on the Dexter's soul, and there was cults, and like Aster and Cody became killers, all this stuff, and it got really banana weird. That's where we're going, but in a different scale of like, this feels like, I said in this Discord, like a bad action movie. It feels like Thunderbolts or Suicide Squad of like, we've recruited the best top 10 serial killers. Like, or remember that, funny enough, Michael C. Hall was in this. Remember that movie Gamer with Gerard Butler?
I remember. I was thinking about it the other day.
It feels like this, like these are the most dangerous criminals and you can play as them. Like, it feels like, and don't get me wrong, Michael C. Hall was great in that fucking movie, but that it feels very, or the other one, remember, oh god, what's it called? Condemned with Stone Cold.
Oh, fuck it. I have that on DVD.
Yeah. It feels like that, and that to me is because they brought Dexter back for New Blood to finish off the story. It's like we talked about with Zoolander 2 or Anchorman 2. The story was finished. They had the Dexter character realize that even though he was trying to do good, he did a lot of bad. He's a bad person. He deserves jail or to be put down, and he chose to get put down. And then it's like, well, what do you do after that? There's nothing after that. So now you just have to have Dexter do like weird side quest shit that just it does not feel like Dexter. This feels like maybe you could have spanned Dexter off somewhere else, but it just feels odd that Dexter would be in a room with all these serial killers. And I guess, like, are we gonna say, because I know Kirsten Ritter is playing a character called Lady Liberty, so I think she's gonna be a killer like Dexter that takes out bad people. But are all these killers that? And if so, it's like they found 4 other serial killers in the world that are like Dexter that just kill bad people. Like, that feels very convenient. And then if not, there's other killers. Why won't Dexter kill? And maybe that's the plot line. Maybe Dexter meets them and he leaves that meeting. He's like, I'm gonna kill all those people. Maybe, but it just feels very jump the shark. It just feels like this feels like a chat GPT. Maybe we'll do a Dexter's prediction and we'll get you to put like what it would have been. This is what I feel like. This is more wild than what chat GPT. This is one that Taylor would have put in and we would have got it and we would have laughed of like, what? There's like a group of serial killers and he's in New York. Like, this feels like a fake one, and it sucks because before I was always like, well, Clyde Phillips, the showrunner, did 1 to 4. His wife got sick, he left, and then he did New Blood, which I thought was a satisfying ending. He's still part of this, and he's a part of Original Sin. To me, this is, again, because they don't have, I don't think, any ideas that you can really continue the extra story. There's no excuse now. It's not like, oh, well, this is a different showrunner, different writers. I think they're just collecting their bag and having a good time. I think they're just like, yeah, they paid us a lot of money to do this Condemned retro for the gimmick. We'd have to get Taylor on that episode. That'd be great.
Oh, I'm there.
Or Predators. Yeah, Predators. That's another one where it's a bunch of killers. And to me, that just does not fit with Dexter, who is, even at his highest, always trying to be isolated from people to be a seeker, right? It would feel weird that he would just be hanging out with not just one serial killer. I can buy that. We've seen that. A group of serial killers. And I guess here's my one thing of trying to make sense of it. The reason why he might work with them is I feel like they're trying to make Peter Dinklage out to be like some sort of billionaire. Maybe that's why, because maybe it is, hey, I'll protect you. You're not going to get arrested. We can change your name, do all this stuff if you help me do X, Y, and Z. That is my prediction of how Peter Dinklage gets there and Dexter works with him, because he's on the run, right? And if he has some billionaire protecting him, maybe that works. But yeah, the quality show I think is going to be bad, but I don't know. I'm there for the ride in one sense. I think the reviews are going to be tons of fun. I think there's going to be some stupid shit on there, but the Dexter fan of me, it definitely hurts my soul a little bit when I saw this. It's like, man, we're scraping the barrel here. And now I'm worried. I think if this is a hit, because people like myself still watch it, we're going to keep going, and Dexter's going to get like just continually weird situations. They will probably do that cult storyline they did in the book. Like they'll start doing that type of stuff. But Mike asked, which I think you kind of know the answer for, but he did ask. He'd asked two questions. On a scale of season 8 to season 4, how good or bad do you think Dexter Resurrection will be? So obviously 8 would be the worst, and 4 would be the best. I think it's going to be like season 7. I'm a defender of season 7. That's where they introduced Hannah McKay. That's where they introduced I can't remember his name. Oh God, why can't I remember his real name? He just passed. Oh, Ray Stevenson. Do you remember he was in the show as a hitman? That was a season that it was a little rocky, but it kind of there was multiple bad seasons or mess seasons, and then it had a peak of like, oh, Dev found out he was a killer. Hannah McKay was a fun character, and then this hitman who was like actually ended up being friends with Dexter. They had this gay storyline for him where he was, secretly like he couldn't be with the person he wanted to love. That's why he's doing all these kills. Like there was some great stuff in there, but it was still pretty messy. I think that's what this is going to be, but a little lower than that. But I think there's going to be some fun stuff in there. I think Michael C. Hall is going to have some great stuff. I think those returning characters are going to be great. I think Batista is going to be a great story because I think he's actually the only serious part of like manhunting Dexter. But that's where I am. So I'm not sure if you have that same recall I do of the seasons, how to rank it. If you do, you can. If not,
Oh no, I don't. I don't have the thorough
to help
memory.
you a bit, Trinity was 4, Lumen was 5,
Okay.
6 was the Doomsday Killer, 7 was Hannah McKay and the Hitman, and then 8 was the brain surgeon. That was the end. So.
I do like the season with Hannah McKay. I mean, I'd probably say 4 being the best and 8 being the worst. I'd go up to like a season 5 or 6.
Okay, so Lumen Doomsday type of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So some great stuff, but a lot of mess in there. Where like to me, season 7 had great episodes. Season 5 to 6 only had great parts, and then there's a lot of bad stuff in there. So we'll see. And then finally, we didn't get today. We're getting it tomorrow. Mike asked also for Wicked for Good trailer hype on a scale of 10 to 11 out of 10. I guess I'll pick 10 because I'm not 11. I still don't watch the first one. I'm excited for you, Mike. I will not watch this, and luckily my sister will take the kids because my mom watched Wicked and she's like, I can't see the second one. She's like, it's too long. I'm not the biggest fan of it, so not a big in our household. The trailer's weird of them like staring. It's just a lot of weird CG green screen behind. It just looks very, I don't know. I'm gonna say cheap, but I've seen stuff like no offense, Mike. I've seen stuff from that movie that looks a little cheap too, where it's like just looks a little flat or the color looks a little off. So I will watch at some point. I think I will watch it this summer with the girls because they'll be home. I do want to watch the full thing, but as I said before, I'm not a musical guy, and the musicals I like are pretty specific. I can say that like if there's the diehard musical fans, I'm not in them. But Tay, are you excited for this trailer? You and Kirkland will be talking about it next week, so.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of Wicked, and I'll never forget just going into the theater and just being caught off guard with how fantastic it was with the musical numbers and just the story and everything like that. I always loved The Wizard of Oz. I grew up watching that movie, and so with this part 2 coming out, I'm stoked. I'm excited to see the trailer. I'm excited that we're gonna get to see this conclusion because I left that theater wanting. After part 1, so I'm eagerly anticipating this.
Well, there you go. We are done. Eagerly anticipating the rest of the week. Thank you everyone that tuned in. Fun time. Thank you everybody in the chat. We had a good time. You guys had some great questions tonight and some great back and forth. So always a fun time. The chat is lively. Let's see. We don't have to talk about that. We're way past Superman. So yeah, we'll be back some point later on. Predator, Taylor. Next, obviously we got some Patreon stuff we're recording tomorrow, but Predator is just around the corner in Ballerina. We got some good stuff coming up.
I'm excited.
Yeah, so we'll be back. Thank you to everyone that listened, watch, and I promise that when you hear from us next, it'll not be boring.